Hello guys, welcome to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, we will start the story of what if Naruto got Harem Kami and Kyubi part 2. Let's begin. Naruto woke alone this morning. Thankfully Kyubi hadn't felt the urge to get up in the middle of the night and find him, which made Naruto sigh in relief. No more temptations from his lovers, he was finding it hard enough. He was told that his physical reactions were normal and were approved of. This shocked Naruto to say the least. At this point there was killing intent being released from someone in the house after the wave hit. An angry scream bellowed around the village, a scream that was just emitting murderous intent. Naruto got up and ran into the room where he had heard the scream. When he got there he saw Anko holding a piece of paper. Her face was literally red and she was shaking with anger. It was at this point Naruto noticed Anko's hair. It was grass green color. What had happened? Anko-chan, what happened? Naruto asked as Anko looked at Naruto. Her face still held anger, but it wasn't directed at Naruto whatsoever. That Sakura dyed my hair green, Anko said as she handed the note Sakura had left to Naruto. Oh. Sakura's note. This is what you get for embarrassing and disrespected Sasuke-kun, and it was also because you embarrassed me in front of him too, you sadistic snake. I hope you die and rot at the bottom of a damp well with the retard. Naruto and his other S. P.S. Hope you like your green hair color, it matches guys' faces when they look at you. Love, you're better in just about everything, Sakura. Oh. Izuna's house girl's bedroom. Naruto was literally fuming. His eyes were a dark blood red as his eye slits grew to a darker black. Red chakra swirled around him slowly, not making much of a disturbance. These characteristics alone cause Anko to turn to Kyubi. Kyubi-chan, Naruto's losing control again, Anko shouted as the note Sakura had wrote rhyme turned into ashes as Naruto's chakra made the paper spontaneously combust. Kyubi whipped her head around and came up to him. She used her hands as a sponge to mop up and absorb Naruto's red chakra. After the chakra had either been mopped up or had receded into Naruto, then did his eyes return normal and his other demon-like attributes cease to exist. Sorry about that, what she wrote just pissed me off. It really pissed me off, Naruto admitted as he started to rub his temples in concentration. I will not kill them yet, I will not kill them yet, I will not kill them yet. Naruto chanted in his head as he retained his mental stability. Not a problem, Naruto, we'll get the later on, Kyubi said as she too composed herself. Kakashi was forced by the Uchiha to train him. Why does Kakashi train him willingly anyway? Kyubi asked. Naruto smiled sadly at the things Kakashi had told him about his childhood and his friends Obito and Rin. Because on a mission when he was younger he was teamed up with an Uchiha. This Uchiha wasn't power mad and was mentally stable. Apparently his teammate, Obito, sacrificed his life to save Kakashi's, and that is where Kakashi's Sharingan eye comes from. Rin transplanted Obito's eye into Kakashi's while Obito lay dying, so Kakashi sees it as a personal objective to see that the Uchiha clan strive and succeed to honor Obito's memory, Naruto said sadly. Although he was sad about Kakashi feeling he needed to do this, he was even sadder knowing he was going to be the one to ruin his plans by killing the team. I see, well, there's always Itachi. Remember how he was actually a good guy but wanted his brother to succeed. Well, if we say he died on a mission, then he would have no purpose to stay in Akatsuki, although we would probably have to tell him who killed his brother at some point, Kurenai said as she got a thoughtful look. Naruto nodded as he got a thoughtful look too. This idea was rather good. He could bring Itachi back and reform the Uchiha clan, a clan to be ruled by a loyal, strong and intelligent ninja, and not a weak Avenger team. I'll have to plan this out further later. Right now we have to meet up with the emo, and if I were you, I'd plan your revenge along the way, Naruto said with a smirk as he saw the twinkles in his lover's eyes. Aye, they said dreamily as they fantasized about torturing the pink-haired girl in any way possible. Naruto gave a chuckle as he saw the happy faraway looks in their eyes. Genzi, Kiba and Shino walked into the room along with Akamaru, who happily chimed in with a bark of greeting. Hey Naruto dude, you have to tell me how you get these girls. I'm having some difficulties, Kiba chuckled. I asked like 5 yesterday and they all rejected me. I'm starting to think I'm undesirable. Kiba mock slumped. Naruto gave off a chuckle. Well, maybe you'd want to work on your pickup lines, not to mention the fact that you basically asked the entire group and not a single person. Naruto chuckled. Kiba sent him a weird look. You want to talk? You got 5 girls, how come it's different for me? Kiba asked in a slightly disappointed tone. Naruto smirked. Well, I guess I'm just lucky. I'm lucky because I have multiple girls and women who love me. I guess in your case if you want more women, then you're going to have to prove to them that you're a good person and you care deeply for each individual, Naruto explained with Kiba nodding. Well, it's gonna be hard. We and Izukas hate waiting. We're too energetic to be patient for more to join. But I do understand that it's the only way. I can totally understand how unfair it would be if favoritism was being used. Well, with multiple mates I hope I get a damned harem. That would be so cool, Kiba said in his usual hyper tone. Before Naruto could continue, Kiba was out of the door. Lack of attention span, he really was a dog. Well now that's done, I guess we should all start training in our own regime. Shino, could you please get Kiba back and bring him to the spot near the lake, Naruto asked. Shino nodded as he left the room and emitted his bugs to help track and bring back Kiba, Naruto, and the group walked to the lakeside that Naruto had designated for training. The group split off into groups of 2 each with an opponent with equal strength. Naruto spared with Kyubi, Kurenai spared with Anko, Hinata spared with Ino, Genzi spared with Shino, and Sai, who had just arrived, spared with Kiba. This went on for about an hour before they were told they could stop. Most of the groups were exhausted except for Naruto and his lovers. After their spar session they decided to teach Sai, Kiba, Shino and Genzi how to walk up trees using chakra, only it was a few hours before everyone headed down. It was almost time to assist Izuna and his builders in building the bridge. The group decided to call it a day and joined Izuna. Wave Village Bridge outskirt 10 minutes later. After 10 minutes of walking in silence they made it to where Tazuna was standing. Team 7 consisting of Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura stood at the beginning of the bridge. Sakura saw the green hair and smirked at her handiwork. Sakura gave a look of indifference and Kakashi cocked an eyebrow. "What's with the hair?" Anko-san feeling the need to try something different, Kakashi asked in a bored tone. Tazuna saw the hair and had to stifle his smirk that was threatening to take over his face. Lucky for him Anko hadn't noticed and was sending glares at Sakura. "Well, it wasn't really my choice. You see, the hairdresser who dyed my hair green did a dodgy job and so payback will be issued to the little," Anko said as she sent one final evil glare at Sakura who cowered under her gaze and went to hide behind Sasuke who moved away from her. "Well anyway, I believe we should stay on course here," Kakashi said, completely missing the icy glares Anko was radiating. "Team 7 and 11, could you please guard Tazuna and the other builders? Team 8, I would like you to scout the area. Seems as though you have a Hyuga on your team. Tracking won't be a problem," Kakashi said as the others nodded and did as asked. Kakashi noticed the glare Naruto gave him. "Her name is Hinata, Kakashi-sensei." "Hinata Hyuga," Naruto said with an irritated voice. He didn't like it when people referred to Hinata by her last name. It was offensive that she was only recognized by her surname. "I apologize," Kakashi said as he bowed to Hinata who accepted it with a smile. "And before you go, Naruto, may I have a word with you?" Kakashi asked. Naruto nodded and followed him off to the side as the other girls stayed off to the side, sending Naruto glances every now and then as they chatted amongst themselves. When the two got far enough away, Kakashi began. "What exactly happened to you, Naruto? I mean, one day you were apparently dead last of your year, yet today you have proven yourself to be at least high Jonin level with your display of skill out there, and that is extremely impressive due to the fact you only did a few things. If I were to test your skill, you may be even stronger than high Jonin. And what's with those 2-eye dijutsus you used?" Kakashi asked seriously as Naruto paled. He tried to make sure nobody saw his skill level. His dijutsus he had purposely shown. He wanted to strike fear into the Uchiha and the Haruno's hearts. "Well, I don't want to tell you on the mission, so I will leave it to Sarutobi to tell you everything after the mission, of course. As for my skill level, please do not leak this information, and as for my dijutsus, you will also have to wait until you have spoken to the old man. After you have spoken to him, come and find me. Remember, only he and I, and eventually you know this so far, including my lovers as well, so don't go blabbing your mouth off about it. It's an SS class secret law," Naruto explained with Kakashi nodding. Whatever Naruto was speaking of was of the utmost importance and secrecy. It was apparently so much of a secret that it was on par with information on Kyubi. Naruto walked away from Kakashi as the Cyclops jumped away to help Team 7. Naruto walked back to his group so they could set out a search party. "Okay, mine and Hinata-chan's dijutsus are used for tracking and finding people, while Kyubi-chan's sense of smell and acute hearing can also track people down, so us 3 will be the groups who stay the furthest away, but we are also the ones who will look along the furthest edges to find if anyone is hiding, while Anko and Ino can use their snake summons. As small patrol groups they aren't suspicious and can easily go undetected," Naruto explained with the group nodding. Kurenai looked puzzlingly at Naruto. And Anko trained Ino to be her apprentice in their past lives. Further explanation may be brought to you by flashbacks. "What do I do?" Kurenai asked, not sounding hurt that she was left out. She knew Naruto better than to just leave her out of something like this. "You my Jinjutsu Haim, I would like you to put a Jinjutsu on yourself and stay just below the bridge. I know what is to come, and I basically save Sasuke, and if Sasuke is to die, then I won't be able to get my revenge, and I'll be damned if I let the team get away with killing my wife and me." 9-month developed child, Naruto said as he started to get angry at the prospect of the emo getting away with killing his soon-to-be wife and soon-to-be-born child. "SHHHH, we won't ever let that happen," Kurenai said as she rubbed his back. When she felt he had calmed down enough, she let go of him, but before Naruto knew it, Kurenai had grabbed his chin and brought his lips to hers in a fiery kiss, filled with extreme passion and love. Naruto felt flustered at such a display of love and affection. He was never really used to it, and he always blushed when it happened. Eventually she let go and backed up, understanding that this mission took priority. Is that everything, Naruto-kun? Asked. Naruto escaped his flustered trance and shook his head. When you see 2 characters arrive, send me my summon back. Naruto said as he summoned a small fox. It was his previous live summon that didn't require a scroll to be signed, so long as he had Kyubi's blessing and consent, then it was allowed. After the fox sends me word, then I will come running. I want to stop the deaths of both Haku and Zabuza, they were precious to me, and I don't want them to die. I also don't want Haku to kill Sasuke, he's mine, Naruto said coldly, as the others nodded and jumped off into the waters to do their respected jobs. Naruto made a couple dozen clones and activated his Mitsukagen on each one of them. Naruto set the clones to patrol the waters without being seen by Gato's ship patrols Hinata, and Kyubi did the same thing. Anko and Ino summoned a couple dozen snakes and set them on patrols around the forest, looking for enemy ninja or enemy bandits that could be in the area. The snakes had found a ship filled with Gato's men, and Gato himself in it. The ship was on the outskirts of the mainland. The snakes had heard Gato say that they will set sail in a week's time. The snakes slithered back to Anko and Ino to report their findings. Naruto in the meantime had also found the bandits. He was contemplating if he should kill them or not. It seems I am creating paradoxes in this new universe. People are behaving differently to my new appearances and attitudes, and that is changing their own attitude. Not to mention now that the teams have been mixed around a little, that will most likely have a colossal change to the future, Naruto thought to himself as he continued to ponder what to do. It was at this point that Anko, Ino, Hinata and Kyubi relayed their findings and information back to Naruto. They all jumped up to him at the same time, knocking himself from his thinking. Naruto-kun, we found them, Hinata said with Naruto nodding. I know, I'm pondering, should I attack them or leave them? If I leave them, then the villagers would have had no need to stand up for their village, which would make them weak. If I let the bandits run their course, I could change the future for the worse. We have already changed the future too much. Take Inari for example, he was never this bad before. I even sensed a chakra presence in the forest. It definitely wasn't Haku or Zabuza. This new chakra was familiar yet unfamiliar. It wasn't a good chakra, it was evil, Naruto explained with the group nodding. I think we should leave them. If we leave them, then the village will thrive. There's the tiniest chance that anything bad could come of letting them run their course, so long as we stop them from hurting the villagers. That is, Kyubi said with the others nodding. Naruto was kicking himself mentally. Who was that chakra source, and why did it seem so familiar? While Naruto was still thinking, a small fox ran towards him. The fox leaped up onto his summoner's shoulders and licked his cheek. The girls had gleams in their eyes as they watched the cute little baby fox lick their love's cheek. Naruto snapped out of his stupor and acknowledged the fox. Hey Ibi-chan, what's up? Naruto asked. The fox barked in a cute yelping voice. Naruto would have chuckled if he didn't understand the fox, but thanks to the pact he made, he could understand foxes like Kiba could understand dogs. Naruto-sama, Zabuza-san and Haku-san have arrived on the scene. Kakashi is fighting Zabuza, and Sasuke and Kiba are fighting Haku. Haku seems to have trapped Sasuke and Kiba in an ice mirror igloo. Genzi, sigh. Sakura and Shino are defending the client well. I guess Sakura is actually banging on the mirror screaming for Sasuke to be safe. She abandoned the client just to be another nuisance. You were right, master, she is an idiot, the cute little fox said. Naruto's face dropped and he nodded to it. The fox nodded back in understanding and poofed out of existence. Naruto faced the others. Okay, it seems Haku and Zabuza have arrived on the bridge. I'm going to put my plan into action. I know how this will all work out. This plan is foolproof and has no flaws to it. Now you all understand what is needed to be done, Naruto asked. They all nodded. Then I will immense project up the emo and his, Naruto said with great amusement. The others gave a giggle at the name. They all ran towards the bridge at high speeds, equaling to Jonin level, although you couldn't tell they were able of it just by looking at them. Oh. The Great Bridge. Meanwhile, Kakashi was at neck and neck with Zabuza during their battle. Kakashi had used a lot of his jutsus and was starting to get chakra depletion. Zabuza was also suffering from great chakra depletion. This battle was anyone's now. Even an academy student with a kunai could kill the two almost effortlessly. Why don't you give up, copy ninja? Zabuza asked as he breathed deeply to bring the much needed oxygen into his deflated lungs. Kakashi gave him another lazy-eyed smile as best he could. Why not, you demon of the mist? Kakashi asked, slightly slurred and incoherent. Zabuza smirked. It seemed that he was the best for wear out of the two of them. It's time to end this, Zabuza said as he brought his sword out and swung it, barely missing the dodging Kakashi, who threw a couple of kunai at him as he sailed through the air. Zabuza barely parried them with his infamous sword, the Executioner. This is the actual name for the sword in canon, look it up. Kakashi landed poorly. Indeed, it is Suiton Minako Sono Dorigen, Eye of the Dragon, Kakashi said as a third eye came into existence behind Zabuza. All of Kakashi's chakra went into the jutsu, so he slumped down. Zabuza smirked, thinking he had won. But little did he know that the third eye had paralyzed him and was slowly taking all of his chakra. It only took a few minutes for Zabuza to fall unconscious due to his chakra depletion. The mist started to recede. Sakura turned around and saw Kakashi and Zabuza limp on the floor. She rushed over to the two, but being the pink-haired idiot she didn't even check to see if her comrade was okay or not. She simply screeched a retarded battle cry that would have brought even the deaf to clutch their ears. She ran to where Zabuza was. But before she could execute Zabuza, a snake enveloped around her entire body, snaring her and keeping her in place. Sakura's Zabuza here is to be questioned and to be brought back to Konoha. Attacking him would result in treason, and attacking him after I told you not to would be mutiny. If you have a problem with this, then speak to the HOKAGE about it. This requires none of your input, Anko said sternly as Ino went up beside Zabuza and began to heal him. Kurenai jumped up and ran over to Kakashi and started to heal him. Sakura was fuming. But he and that little attack Sasuke-can, look, she's still attacking him, do something, Sakura screeched as the group held their ears in obvious pain. Shut up, you spoiled little diva, we have people trying to save him as we speak. But if you didn't notice, Kiba's in there also. It's not all about Sasuke now. If you want to be useful and productive, go over to Tazuna and do the job you were given, Gardamanko shouted furiously as Sakura jumped at the killing intent and ran over to Tazuna and pulled a kunai knife out, trying to look busy. Oh. The Great Bridge Haku's Ice Mirror Jutsu. Haku stood in one of the mirrors. She had her ice senbons brandished and was throwing them reluctantly at the two genin, but only a jonin could notice this reluctance. Kiba was full of the senbons. He looked like a pin cushion. Sasuke was selfishly using Kiba as a shield to block the senbons from hitting himself. The black-haired one has no sense of teamwork, nor is he born to be a ninja, while the brown-haired boy with red stripes on his face is a true ninja, taking the blows for his teammate, like that he is worthy of his forehead. Protector, Haku thought to herself as impaled 20 more senbon needles into Kiba's body, all non-vital areas. Sasuke was cowering and grabbing the weak and almost unconscious Kiba and using him as a human shield for the senbon needles. "Get off of me," Kiba shouted angrily as Sasuke was lying on the floor, forcing Kiba atop of him to take the hits. Sasuke sneered as another round of senbon needle drove themselves into Kiba's already gashed stomach, arms and legs. "It is an honor that you would die so an Uchiha may live, especially the last Uchiha," Sasuke smirked as Kiba growled dangerously. Although no one heard it, Haku gritted her teeth and growled slightly too. She was sick of people like him using people for their own ill-gotten needs. Zabuza used to do that to her, but after the first few years he began to become a father figure to her. She dressed disguised as a guy so that people wouldn't want to rape her if she became a hostage. Zabuza's idea. Kiba fell limp from the loss of blood. Sasuke threw Kiba towards one of the mirrors to his left and went through about 6 hand signs. "Peyton you in Hinatama no Jutsu, Grand Fireball no Jutsu," Sasuke shouted as a giant plume of fire burst from his mouth and engulfed Haku's ice mirrors completely. When the flames died down, it was revealed that Sasuke's fire jutsu had done less than naught to affect Haku's ice mirrors. Haku scoffed at how pathetic the chakra was in that fire jutsu. Kiba had disappeared. Both Haku and Sasuke dismissed it. The flames had probably turned him to ash. Little did they notice the slight tinge of yellow before the flame connected with the ice. "Why haven't your ice mirrors melted yet? Last time I checked the laws of physics, ice melts when it comes to contact with flames," Sasuke said angrily. He was pissed off that this ice user had made Sasuke resort to try his best and yet fail. "Well, normal ice would melt when it's placed in room temperature. If by your laws of physics, these mirrors should be melting without the use of your fire. But the fact is that they're not normal. They are in fact chakra-enhanced ice mirrors, so unless your measly chakra can outpower mine, then there is no way to escape," Haku explained. Sasuke arrogantly snorted again. He was about to speak again and try to buy himself some time, but no words made their way out of his mouth. The only noise he made was a painful grunt and then a blood-gurgling growl. Naruto had picked up one of the ice needles from Kiba's body, who he had came and rescued before Sasuke killed Kiba. The needle in question was now sticking through Sasuke's throat straight through his jugular. Naruto dragged the razor-sharp needle all across his neck until it came out. This left a horizontal line going across Sasuke's now half a neck. Haku was extremely surprised that his own teammate had just killed him. Sasuke went limp and fell to the floor with a hollow thud. Naruto looked back at Haku and almost hugged the ice mirror, but he remembered that she didn't know who he was and that she thought he was the enemy at the moment. "Please do not see me as a threat, Haku-chan," Naruto said as Haku stiffened and froze. Punhahaha. How did this guy know who she was? How did he know she was a female disguised as a male? "Oh, do I know who to am, and how do you know that I am?" Haku said, shocked and slightly scarred. "A female? It's because I know you. It may seem far-fetched, but I'm actually from the future," Naruto explained. All previous fear left Haku as she scoffed. "The future? You must think I'm an idiot or something," Haku said as she prepared to launch her attack. Naruto stopped her by bringing his arms up defensively and peacefully. Wait, you are Haku, supposed ninja tool to Zabuza Mamachi, the bloody demon of the mist. You were taken in by Zabuza after your father tried to kill you and succeeded in killing your mother. You fight to protect Zabuza because he is your precious person, and the reason your father tried to kill you is because your village saw bloodlines as cursed demon blood that should have never been given to humans, Naruto said as Haku dropped her eye senbons and dispelled her bloodline out of pure shock. How did this stranger know so much about her? Was he really from the future? Oh, do you know that? Haku asked as she backed away from the approaching blonde. She was utterly shocked. Not even Zabuza knew that her own father killed her own mother. Naruto smiled kindly as he inched closer to Haku until he stopped. You don't have to be afraid, Haku-chan. I am who I claim to be. I have seen the future. And what happens here today? Gato betrays you and Zabuza, Naruto said seriously. Haku growled at this. She knew Gato was a snake in the grass, but she never expected this. You die in order for Zabuza to live, and Zabuza dies killing Gato. All this can be changed. Meet me in this clearing tonight, 10 at night, Naruto said as he handed Haku a piece of paper that looked like a map. Haku looked at it and recognized a lot of structures she knew around the village. She nodded and left to help Zabuza. Naruto left quickly and placed Kiba near Sasuke, so people would believe that Kiba had been in the dome with Sasuke. Also, as the mist began to clear, Naruto ran towards where he could see Zabuza. Zabuza was on Haku's shoulder as she retreated into the forest. The girls nodded when they saw Naruto. Naruto smirked and the girls smirked with him. Although I may not agree with murder nor revenge, I couldn't let the team live. This was not only personal, but if he lived he would only cause more trouble to befall Konoha, Naruto explained with a sigh. He really did hate it when he killed, but he knew that in this situation it was above necessary. The other girl smirked. So have you done it? Will the plan fall into place like how you said? Hinata asked happily. She wanted to see the look of despair on that awful excuse for a human's face. Naruto nodded with a bigger smirk. Hinata felt both happy and disgusted, happy that the woman who caused Naruto so much pain and despair would be dead, and disgusted that she felt happy about seeing another human's death. Oh. The Great Bridge with Tazuna. Sakura, Sai, Shino and Genzi defended every side of Tazuna. Both fortunately and unfortunately, Sakura faced the side of where Sasuke and Kiba had been caught in the ice dome. It was fortunate for Naruto and the girls because this would be part of the plan, but it was unfortunate for Sakura because this would be the end of her. As the mist cleared, Sakura saw, to her horror, two lifeless bodies that lay limp on the floor. From what she could see, it was her black-haired, black-eyed, gimpy short-wearing obsession and the furry mangy dog boy. Sakura ran towards Sasuke to see if he was okay. As she got right up to him, she dropped to her knees to check for any injuries. When she saw his neck, tears began to flow freely. She cried and cried into Sasuke's chest, while at a distance Naruto and the girl silently laughed at the display. Her revenge was sweet. When Sakura was finally finished, she shakily picked up the senbon needle. Her attitude suddenly changed into a happy, almost ecstatic emotion. I know if I kill myself now, then Sasuke-kun will see how faithful and loving I am. He'll definitely fall for me, then Sakura said as she gave it no more thought. She slit her throat and fell to the ground with a thump. Like lemmings falling off the cliff, Naruto said amused. The others gave a chuckle. Well, you were right, she would commit suicide if Sasuke died, and you actually annotated her words perfectly, Kurenai said with a smirk. Anko was laughing her off. I told her I'd get her back big time, Anko shouted between bursts of hysteric giggles. Everyone sweated at the sadistic mind of Anko. Then again, they were the ones who had just forced another to commit suicide. Were they really ones to talk? Well, now that I have mine, Shion's and our baby's revenge, I can sleep easy now. I have to commence with the rest of the plan, Naruto said with a sigh as the group met up with the Tazuna group. Right, okay people, I need you all to go back to Tazuna's house, and Tazuna, tell your workers to go home. We're done for today, Anko said with Kurenai nodding. The group guarded Tazuna as Kurenai and Anko led them to Tazuna's house. Kakashi was slumped over Naruto's shoulder as he carried him back, while Kiba was still unconscious and slumped over Kurenai's shoulder. The group arrived back home to see a worried Tsunami and a worried and slightly depressed Inari. When Inari looked at Naruto, he flinched. He remembered what the silver-haired Jonin had told him about Naruto's life. How he had been subjected to tortures daily, how he hardly ever got fed, how he was the prime subject for assassins all over the world, and why he survived it this far. It was because of the demon inside of the kind-caring blonde. Naruto slumped Kakashi down on the settee as he went and sat down on the floor along with a few others. The rest was starting to notice how quiet it was, and the males no longer had the fear that they needed to cover up their behind. Sasuke lol. Hey, where's that emo kid? Tazuna asked with the others just working out that Sasuke and Sakura were no longer with them. How they didn't realize that no killing intent was being released by the brooder was one thing, but not noticing bright pink hair attached to a giant forehead attached to a bigger mouth and an even louder voice was even worse. How could they not notice the two most annoying teammates were missing? Both Sasuke and Sakura are dead. We can only presume Sasuke died. Well, Sakura must have killed herself when she saw Sasuke lying there, Naruto said coldly as the others nodded. They tried to fake a sad gasp, but they all just felt like cheering, and another part of them was feeling bad for wanting to cheer, so their fake gasp was only slightly believable. At this moment Kiba woke with an angry yell. "Stop using me as a shield, you coward," Kiba yelled as he sat bolt upright. He instantly regretted doing so and lied back down, clutching his stomach. Ino and Hinata went to take a look. Naruto came with them because he knew a few medical techniques too. Hinata was more of a taijutsu fighter that uses her speed to outmaneuver opponents, but she did have some medical knowledge and was above average in her healing abilities. "You okay, Kiba? What happened?" Naruto asked. He already knew what happened, but he needed to get Kiba to spill the information. It would look sinister if Naruto had explained it to them. Kiba grunted as he closed one eye due to the pain. "The team used me as a human shield. When that hunterman threw senbons at us, I couldn't move because the senbons had paralyzed all my limbs, so Sasuke, being the he, has used me as cover. He even had the nerve, and I quote, to say it is an honor that you would die so an Uchiha may live, especially the last Uchiha." Kiba said as the others growled dangerously. That speech was something Sasuke would definitely say. Reference usually in yaoi couples in anime are referred to as two different names, one I can't remember and the other, Yuke, refers to the submissive partner. "I'm horrified, I know this. I'm never using Wikipedia again XD, just so you know." Someone referred to Sasuke as Sasuke and I searched Wikipedia for what it meant. Eventually the group calmed down enough to speak without spitting venom. "Hey Kakashi, you okay?" Kurenai asked her cycloptic friend that had been a good friend to her all her life. Kakashi nodded his head slowly yet sadly. "I'm not sorry he's dead, he was nasty piece of work, but I'm just upset that Obito's last living relative is dead. Itachi left the village years ago, so he doesn't count as family in the eyes of the Konoha Council," Kakashi said sadly as he sighed. He may have failed Obito, but he wouldn't fail his sensei's legacy. Naruto thought for a few seconds. Itachi really wasn't the bad guy in all of this. He was forced to do it by the council, more specifically Danzo. Even more specifically, Danzo's right eye. Naruto had to try and get Itachi to come back to Konoha. Naruto had to get Itachi forgiven, or Kakashi may slump into a great depression. "Hey Kakashi-sensei, what do we do now?" Naruto asked. Kakashi shot up and smiled. "Well, during the time I file a report and await further instructions, then you can all do what you want. There won't be any more trouble for a while." "Everyone except for Naruto, could you please leave the room?" Kakashi asked. Everyone nodded and left the room. Hinata and the others sent him a worried glance, but he smiled back reassuringly, so they left. When they had all gone, Kakashi spoke. "So what's happened since I'm out? I need you to fill me in on all the details, so I may write a report to Hokage-sama," Kakashi said with Naruto nodding his acceptance. Me and the other scout units checked the area out and found a boat full of people on it, apparently Gato's forces. We overheard him speak of an attack on Zabuza. The bridge and the Konoha ninjas. After that I got a summon to report to me what was happening on the bridge. When I heard what was happening, I ran to help in the battle. As I arrived, I noticed Kiba and Sasuke fighting. The battle had just ended and Sasuke had been killed because Haku found his beliefs about teamwork disgusting. She spared Kiba because she's a nice person. Really, I made a deal with her. Zabuza and Haku are to join us on our journey back to Konoha and hopefully be accepted into Konoha as ninjas, Naruto explained with Kakashi highly surprised, but he barely showed it. "So this Haku and Zabuza, do they want to join?" Kakashi asked. Naruto shrugged in response. "I'm not sure. She will meet me later on today. I gave her a map to help her find me, so she should have no problems," Naruto explained with Kakashi nodding in agreement. "It would help Konoha greatly if we have a legendary swords master on our side. He could teach the younger generation the ways of the sword," Kakashi pondered out loud with a look of great thought. Naruto smiled and left to go find his loves. "OMFG, my first lemon warning lolzilla." Naruto Hinata lemon. Naruto entered a dark room, all the lights were out and Naruto could barely make out anything but the bed. He decided to lay down for a while. It seems the girls had gone out for a bit or something. Naruto was about to fall asleep until he felt someone grab a hold of his shoulder. Naruto groaned as the obviously female fingers stroked his hard member until it stood at full attention, leaving a giant tent in his black baggy Anbu-style trousers. "Does Naruto-sama like this feeling?" a highly seductive voice whispered into his ear as she pushed her assets into his body while she continued to straddle her first and only love's giant bulging member. "Hinata, what are you doing?" Naruto gasped out between groans as Hinata began to take off Naruto's trousers while she kept circling her tongue around Naruto's bare chest, paying great attention to his s. "This is your payment for helping this village and for keeping your promise to Shion-chan," Hinata said as she took a break from her licking. She wasted no time after she finished her sentence. She wrapped her fingers around Naruto's now bare member as she pulled back and forth on his manhood. "Ah, Hinata-chan, this feels so good," Naruto added as Hinata shut him up with her lips. They lip-locked for several minutes as Hinata changed her grip and hand position every now and then to make Naruto groan at a whole new level every time. Hinata got an idea and reluctantly left the warm welcoming lips of her lover and traveled down his body, planting kisses all the way down his body, sending thrills of excitement and anticipation to Naruto every time Hinata's lips kissed a lower part of his anatomy, until… "Oh god Hinata, please don't stop," Naruto groaned loudly as Hinata took Naruto's entire soldier into her mouth, deep-throating her all the way to the back of her head. Every time she bobbed up and down she would swirl her tongue around his member, creating a great sensation for Naruto. Naruto started panting and sweating slightly as he clutched the bed sheets. Hinata sensed he was near, so she started to hum into his manhood, sending pleasure-filled vibrations to run up member. Naruto started to groan greatly as his back arched, and he grabbed the back of Hinata's head. "Hinata-chan, I'm," Naruto shouted as he released his hot seed into Hinata's mouth, who drank it greedily. After Hinata had drank all of in her mouth she started to further on Naruto's manhood, determined on drinking every little drop of her favorite drink. Naruto was still cooling off from his high that he had received, while Hinata carried on to clean his manhood. Before Hinata even knew it she was in a sitting position as Naruto kissed her neck feverishly, his hands fondling with Hinata's huge assets. Hinata ed loudly as Naruto began to remove her ing. "Oh god Naruto, please don't stop, you're so good," Hinata shouted as she held the back of Naruto's hair, holding him to her bust as Naruto swirled his tongue around Hinata's dot. While Naruto was giving his ministrations to Hinata's, he decided to take off her skin-tight trousers and her silk panties. She didn't notice she was completely until she felt 2 fingers slide into her wet folds. "Oh god Naruto-kun," Hinata screamed in pure pleasure as Naruto's 2 fingers pumped in and out of her, while his thumb played with her clit. Hinata was ing and wriggling in Naruto's embrace due to the amount of pleasure he was giving her. He smirked inwardly as he watched his pale-eyed lover squirm and groan his name over and over again. Her pleasured voice was enough to make Naruto's members stiff again. Naruto decided to let go of her and travel down her body. Hinata didn't really notice, she was in her own little world of pleasure. Her inner self was screaming with glee about the fact that Naruto was giving her so much love and affection. Before her inner self could continue any further, Hinata felt something wet and warm lick in between her 2 wet folds. Hinata let out a giant as her legs wrapped around Naruto's head, forcing him further into her womanhood. "Yes Naruto, please keep doing that, it feels so good." Naruto Hinata all but screamed as she felt Naruto's tongue switch between licking at her folds to licking at her clitoris, while Naruto pumped 3 fingers into Hinata's folds as his other hand groped her firm ass. Hinata was close to her release, she sat up and pulled on Naruto's hair, keeping him in place. Naruto sensed her soon-to-be release, so he stimulated her pleasure as he hummed into her womanhood. Hinata couldn't hold it in anymore and released her orgasm all over Naruto's face as he drank it up like a thirsty man. Hinata was panting heavily as she gasped for air, ing and granting Naruto's name every now and then. Naruto waited about 10 seconds to let Hinata cool down before he shuffled up to her, putting himself on top of Hinata. "Hinata-chan, do you want to go all the way?" "I'll wait if you." Naruto begun but never got to finish. "No, I want you now, I want your children now, I want to raise them and love them like I love you," Hinata said as she forced herself on top of Naruto, who just became the Ukulele. Naruto was shocked at this display of love and affection. "But Hinata, your training will go downhill if." Naruto was once again interrupted by Hinata. "Don't worry, I have a plan. You will teach me the blood clone jutsu, and I'll be able to train with my clones while I sit and loaf," Hinata said with a kind smile, although in her current state and how she did it, it seemed very seductive and lust-filled. "But what about you, Hyman, won't it be painful?" Naruto asked with Hinata nodding happily. Why she did it happily Naruto had no idea. "It always hurts for your first time. We have to do it some time or another, and I want to show you how much I love you," Hinata said. Before Naruto could say she didn't need to prove her love to him, she forced herself downwards and impaled herself on Naruto's manhood. She let out a cry of pain as she cried silently into Naruto's chest. Naruto felt horrible that he had caused this pain, but he tried to soothe her any way he could. Naruto kissed the top of Hinata's head and stroked her hair as she tried to cease her tears. When Hinata calmed down she slowly started to grind herself into Naruto's still erect member. She let out groans of pure pleasure as the pain subsided, only to be filled with even greater pleasures she had never felt before. "Oh god Naruto-sama, right there," Hinata shouted as her fast and groans became louder and more pleasure-filled as Naruto ed faster and deeper into his pale-eyed beauty. Naruto kept this up for a while longer until he grew bored of the position. Naruto growled as he flipped Hinata onto her backside as he started to into her harder and faster than before. Hinata was literally yelling, screaming for him to go faster, to go deeper. Naruto complied as he into her with all his might, making Hinata yell in delight. Naruto leaned down to play with Hinata's S, while Naruto continued to into her with more animal instinct. Out of instinct Naruto let out a loud growl as he moved his head up to Hinata's neck and bit down onto her neck. As Naruto bit down, Hinata let out a growl and bit the side of Naruto's neck. As they channeled their chakra into the bite mark they both suddenly felt their release wash over them. The bite mark had severely turned both of the two on, and that had done it for the two lovers. Hinata screamed Naruto's name as she dug her now sharp claws into Naruto's back while she ridded her orgasm out. Naruto grunted and stayed there while he shot his seat into Hinata's womanhood. End of my first lemon XD. Naruto slumped down on top of Hinata, losing all of his energy to support himself. Naruto kissed Hinata's neck where he had bit down. He didn't know why he did it, but it felt right. Naruto felt a slight dampness on his shoulders, so he pulled back and looked into Hinata's teary face. Naruto felt like he had done something horrible to her. He didn't get to finish because Hinata lip-locked with him as she pulled him as close to her as possible. Naruto was extremely confused. 1 minute she's the next she's happy, the next she's sad. Were all women this emotional when it came to? Thank you Naruto, thank you as much, Hinata said before kissing his face all around, paying great attention to his cheeks. Naruto was confused some more until she explained. I always wanted your child, and now I'm going to have it, Hinata said determinedly as she got off of Naruto. Naruto smiled at her comment, bringing tears to his eyes. We may not have a child, it doesn't always work first try, so please just don't get your hopes up too much, Naruto said as Hinata walked towards the shower to wash away all the grime and sweat she had built up with her 40-minute lovemaking session. Oh, we will Naruto-kun, we will, Hinata said determinedly, which made Naruto gulp. He knew that look, it was a look that said she was going to have her way. Hinata walked into the bathroom and turned on the light. She let out a not-so-quiet shriek of surprise before it quieted down to utter silence in the bathroom. Naruto frowned and ran to go check on his mate. As he walked from his dark room into the bathroom, he let out a surprised gasp. Hinata now had a foxtail, not just that, but 2 fox ears atop her head. Also her hair had an orange tint in some areas, making her look even more beautiful. She also had similar fangs to Naruto, except hers were slightly smaller and thinner, giving them a somewhat feminine look to them. Naruto broke from his surprise and walked up behind her as she looked at herself through the mirror. He wrapped his arms around her waist as he planted a kiss on her neck. It was then he noticed that where he had bitten her was a tattoo-like picture of a golden fox head. You look absolutely stunning, Haim, Naruto growled into her ear, which made her insides grow warmer. It was true, she felt the difference. She looked even better than before. She liked this new look. It made her look both cute when she wanted to be, when she wanted to be, and aggressive and bad when needed to be. Have you seen the tattoo on your shoulder? Naruto asked as Hinata tilted her body as she looked in the mirror. It was true, she had a tattoo now exactly where Naruto had bitten her. Wait a minute, Hinata thought as she twirled around and looked at Naruto's neck. Sure enough, where she had bitten him was a lavender fox head. She giggled at the sight of his tattoo. Her eyes seemed to scan Naruto's anatomy as she licked her lips when she caught a sight of his manhood. We don't have time for this, Haim. I need to tell the others what's going on. Maybe Kyubi-chan has an explanation to why this is going on, Naruto said as he gave Hinata a short passionate kiss before leaving the room for Hinata to shower in. Hinata nodded to no one in particular and got into the shower. Naruto walked outside of his bedroom after he got dressed into some anbu trousers and a black muscle shirt, showing off his glistening body. He was still sweaty from the love-making session. He knew Hinata wasn't done here, and neither was he, so he decided to tell Kyubi about it. Seconds after Naruto walked out of his bedroom, all eyes were on him. He noticed the red blushing faces and the perverted look coming from both Tazuna and Kakashi. The girls were blushing up a storm as they licked their lips with glazed over eyes. Naruto suddenly realized he hadn't done a privacy seal and that everyone had heard their loud shouts of lust. Naruto-kun, I want you tonight. In fact, I think we all do, Ino said, with all of them nodding and getting a nosebleed simultaneously. Naruto went pale and tried to back away from the women. Kakashi gave a small chuckle which escalated into evil maniacal laughter. Everyone shot him a weird look. What, that sounds kinky, freaking gangbang, Kakashi said with a giant smirk that was visible even with his mask on. All the woman girls in the room developed a tick above their eyes. Before they could get to beating Kakashi up, Naruto stepped in. Kyubi-chan, I did this weird thing during me and Hinata, you know, Naruto said with a blush. Kiba laughed his off cause he misunderstood. Lose you mojo, eh, Naruto? Kiba asked as he howled like a dog with laughter. Naruto sighed and gave him an irritated look. I bit down on her neck and now there's a tattoo where I bit down. It's really weird, it's got color and everything, Naruto explained with Kyubi nodding with understanding. You gave her a mate, mark master. Whenever an alpha male claims a female to be his, he first has to have with her at the very last seconds, and to release your body will act for you, and you will bite down on the female in question, and she will become your mate. We may all be your mates, but we're not officially yours just yet. You have to make love to us before that happens. Kyubi explained with Naruto standing there, shocked at this information. What does a mate mark do, Kyubi-chan? Naruto asked. Everyone else in the room was also confused. Kiba understood it to a level, but he didn't understand why Naruto had to mate mark his women. A mate mark establishes links in your mind where you can talk, send memories and even meet up in your mindscape. It gives you some demon chakra, technically making Hinata half demon like you. It also changes a few traits of the person who was mate marked, but the two most common things it will do is give the person with the mate mark a tail and two fox ears, Kyubi whispered into Naruto's ears so only he could hear it. Kakashi was highly perplexed about what was going on. "Ah, I see, I hope it's okay with Hinata. I'm not sure how she will react to being like me," Naruto said sadly. He was instantly pulled into an embrace. "On the contrary, I think she would prefer to be more like the one she loves most in this world, and to be honest, I would love to get a mate mark, even though I'm Kyubi said as she looked at Naruto, telling him the silent answer. Naruto nodded in understand. He smiled at the fact that the Kyubi would like to be his mate, but then his smile faded. What if the others didn't want to become half demons? The girls seemed to see these emotions battling with Naruto's morals, so they decided to step in and help him out. "Don't worry, Naruto-kun, I don't think any of us would hate having a mate mark actually. I'd like the fact that I'd know where you are all the time. It means I can see what you're doing, who you're doing," Anko said with a seductive smirk. Naruto gulped. Even though now he was technically not a virgin, he was still not used to all this female attention. Thanks Anko-chan," Naruto said happily as the others smiled at his cute happy face. Naruto noticed the clock on the wall and realized he had to set off to meet Haku in the designated meeting point. Naruto left out the front door to go and meet Haku and Zabuza. The girls insisted they come and protect their mate, but Naruto told them that nothing would happen and that he would be fine. Naruto knew that he could win Haku and Zabuza over. All he had to do was tell them that they would be accepted and appreciated in Konoha, and that bloodlines were more than acceptable. Hell, if it were up to the council they would be deemed mandatory. Naruto's only worry was Geto at the moment. He would have to devise a plan to rid the earth of that pretty soon. Oh. Naruto jumped through the trees and landed in a small clearing. Haku was already there with Zabuza standing a few feet behind her. The man was all bandaged up and seemed to have a few broken limbs still. Naruto approached them and stopped at a safe distance which promised security and would stop any feelings of intimidation. "Haku-chan, Zabuza-san." Naruto greeted with a nod. Haku blushed when he called her that. Who was this guy? They knew his name, but he still seemed very mysterious. He was a 15-year-old kid, but he seemed to have the nobility and grace of someone much older, and he was extremely calm. He had 2 A-rank missing nins not 8 meters away, and yet he acted like he was waiting for a bus or something. "So what do you wish to speak to us about, Naruto-kun?" Haku asked. Naruto smirked. She hadn't realized her honorific that she used on him. Zabuza gave an amused smirk when she called him that. Maybe this would become interesting. "I have come to propose that you and Zabuza-san are to return to us to Konoha. Konoha offers you citizenship within our village, and they are allowing you to become ninjas there too," Naruto explained with both Zabuza and Haku, giving him a strange look. "Why would we want to serve Konoha? They are a major village. That means more people live in the village, which means bloodlines and demons aren't welcome," Zabuza said with a frown. Haku nodded in agreement. Naruto sighed and began his explanation. "Konoha accepts bloodlines with welcome arms, and by the looks of you, you are no demon, Zabuza-san, just a man who is trying to escape the eventual end he will receive if he carries on living on the run," Naruto said seriously. As Haku looked surprised, she was surprised by the fact Konoha accepts bloodlines and actually likes them. Zabuza scowled and unleashed some killing intent that didn't even faze Naruto. "And what do you know of demons, boy?" Zabuza asked as Naruto smirked and gave him a dark chuckle. "A lot more than you will ever know," Naruto said as he started to emit Kyubi's chakra. Naruto's hair turned a tint of red, while his eyes turned into red slits. His fangs grew substantially longer and sharper, while his nails grew to a length. Naruto dismissed his genjutsu so his real body could be seen. All of his 9 tails swishing behind him and 2 fury ears atop his head. Despite how intimidating he looked, Haku couldn't help but let out a squeal when she saw the foxy tails and ears Naruto had. Naruto gave a chuckle as Haku glomped him as she pet his tails gently. Naruto purred and eased into her embrace. Haku blushed. She had completely forgotten herself, but she didn't want to stop, so she continued to pet him as he continued to purr and rub his cheeks into her as she continued to stroke him. The scene looked weird. Zabuza was still in shock to process the fact that Haku had let her guard down and had started to physically groom the potential enemy. Zabuza processed the simple fact that this kid wasn't normal. "What are you, kid?" Zabuza asked in shock as Naruto smirked at his shocked face. Haku was too busy petting his tails to really care. "I am not mortal. I am 1/5 angel, 1/5 devil, 1/5 human, 1/5 death god and 1/5 demon." Naruto answered with the 2 snapping back with shock. Haku had stopped her mindless petting and stared wide-eyed at the boy in front of her. "What the hell do you mean?" Zabuza said, getting infuriated because he was confused. Zabuza hated to be confused. Haku was still staring at him with wide eyes. Naruto noticed this look and stared down at her. "What is it, Haku-chan?" Naruto asked with Haku blushing cutely. Haku snapped out of her infatuated stupor and answered him in the calmest voice she could muster and failed epically. A yawning angel Haku stuttered, making Naruto laugh at her shocked and slightly confused face. Zabuza wasn't reacting too well to the situation too well, either he had started to become more and more confused about the whole situation, and the lack of answers was starting to piss him off. "Alright Gaki, start explaining or I start exclaiming," Zabuza shouted as Naruto chuckled at his clever wordplay. Naruto nodded and began his life story, trying not to skip on any details. He told them how a demon had been sealed into his navel at birth, how the villagers beat and ridiculed him on a daily basis for bearing the demon within him, and how at one point he had come back in time to stop his wife, himself and their unborn baby's death. He told them how he was actually 19 in a 15-year-old body, and he told Haku why he killed Sasuke and Sakura, but she didn't really count. Haku was in tears. This boy at the age of 3 and above had been beaten, shunned, isolated, and had lost his innocence at age 8. Zabuza was better off with his reaction than Haku was, but that was because he had received a small percentage of what Naruto had received. He knew the pain and could relate to what Naruto was feeling. Zabuza gave him a sympathetic look. "My life may have not been glamorous, but I'm in the past now. I have a choice to change the future for the better, and I'm taking that choice. I will make this world a better place for Kami-sama as my witness. I will make this world better and more understanding," Naruto announced as Haku smiled and wiped her eyes. "You say you met Kami and Yami-sama. What were they like and what was Shinigami-sama like also?" Zabuza asked with a tinge of fearful curiosity. He knew he had not been the most righteous of ninja, he just wanted to know if he was in their good books or not. "Well, my first impressions of Kami-chan and Yami-chan was that they were both giant perverts," Naruto said as both Kirin and Face faltered. Naruto gave a chuckle before continuing. "The first time I met the two they discussed if they should jump me or not, and I believe if they had nothing better to do I believe I would have been raped," Naruto said as he gave off a chuckle. Haku giggled when he said this. Zabuza gave a perverted giggle at the idea of the two strongest entireties in existence having their way with this kid. "Shinigami was a cool guy, gave me the option of raising my parents, so long as I collected enough souls for him to eat," Naruto said with a chuckle, as he imagined a fat death god gobbling down a squirming snake version of Orochimaru. Zabuza gave him a curious look. "So why do you wish to spare the two of us from this eventual death that you are foretelling?" Zabuza asked as Haku nodded in agreement as she waited patiently for the question to be answered. "Two reasons. Reason 1, you are both like me in a sense, and I believe you two are good people who do not deserve to die. Reason 2, Shinigami-sama wishes you to live. He believes you to be a good person, and he wouldn't feel right eating a soul so pure," Naruto explained, as Zabuza stood there still and shocked. Haku gave a small smile. She knew Zabuza was really a good person, and this was her proof. "I am offering for the two of you to join Konoha." Zabuza would be allowed in because he was one of the infamous 7 swordsmen of the mist, while Haku has a bloodline limit which the council seems to have a uul fetish about, Naruto said, as Haku giggled at his slightly vulgar language. Naruto blushed at the sound of her voice. He felt the same attraction he felt for all the other girls in his harem. Zabuza looked between the two and grinned openly at the two lovebirds. "I accept. Send a message to your HOKAGE that I will have an audience with your council." "What about you, Haku?" Zabuza asked as Haku smiled. "I will go wherever Naruto-kun goes. I would love to settle down and join a village at last. I never really liked all this moving around," Haku admitted as Naruto blushed when she said that. He couldn't help experience that feeling again, although this time it was stronger. "Greed, I'll go tell Kakashi-sensei about what's happening. Do you two want to stay in the house we're staying in? It would be better than sleeping outside," Naruto offered, as the two smiled and nodded before following him to Tezuna's house. Oh. Tezuna's house with the girls. Ino, Kyubi, Kurenai and Anko were all assaulting Hinata for answers about how he was in bed, or how large he was, or how fast he moved, or how long he kept it up. "On Hinata, how big was he?" Kurenai happily asked as the others nodded vigorously in agreement. Hinata blushed from embarrassment but got a perverted grin and a dreamy look as she reminisced. A few others were listening in just for the hell of it. Naruto having with Hinata was the biggest scandal that had happened recently, but the exciting bit wasn't the fact the two had. The worrying thing was that Hinata, a princess to the Hyuga clan, had lost her virginity to Naruto, the clanless dead last of the year. "He was ex-big," Hinata said as the girls gasped as they started to drool at the size he held. Their eyes glistened as they got far away looks and simultaneous nosebleeds as they imagined themselves having their way with Naruto in all sorts of ways, and by X, I mean insert the number of inches you wish. Seriously, people complain about the size of Naruto's penis too much. Imagine what you want. I don't want any damn flames. "You gotta be shiting me," Kiba yelled, who had been listening into the conversation the girls were having, slightly jealous that Naruto had lost his virginity before he had. Akamaru gave what seemed to be an amused bark chuckle. "What's wrong, Kiba-kun? Jealous much?" Hinata giggled. Kiba blushed and slumped down. "Now I see why he got all the damn girls. He's a freaking Greek god or something," Kiba said as he slumped further into the settee he was sitting on. Hinata scowled slightly. Now listen here Kiba, we're not bandits that just want and chuck Naruto-kun, we want him because we all love him so much so that we don't mind sharing, and to be quite honest, I'd prefer sharing spices the life up, Hinata said, blushing at the last look. All the girls gave Hinata a shocked look, but soon changed into a perverted grins. Anko wrapped her arms around Hinata's shoulders. Damn right it does, Hina-chan, wait till I get a go at Naruto-kun, goddamn, I'm going to ride him so hard he's going to. Anko started until she noticed all the males in the room had passed out. Only Inari, who didn't understand the concept of yet, and Tsunami, who thought of Naruto as a second son, were standing, although Tsunami had a huge blush and Inari looked confused. Naruto isn't a fairground ride, so how can you ride him, Inari asked, making all the girls giggle perversely. Oh, there's a way, Inari-san, there's a way indeed, Kyubi said with a faraway look as blood poured from her nose. At this point Genzi also passed out, a perverted tick on her eyebrow, and blood spilling from her nose was enough proof that they had overdone it a bit. All the girls blushed as they smelt Genzi's lust. I think you may have turned her on severely, Kurenai said with a chuckle, as all of Naruto's mates gave a small chuckle of agreement as they watched the slightly twitching, happy face of Genzi. It was at this point all the males awoke from their slumber and got up groggily. Kurenai rushed to pick Genzi up and bring her to her room before any of the more experienced guys picked up on the scent. Kakashi walked into the room as soon as Kurenai shut the door to the female dormitory. Well, I have written up the report of what's happened so far, we just need to wait to see if Zabuza and Haku want to come back to Konoha with us, Kakashi explained with the girls nodding. Some of the guys, however, did not share the same agreement. What do you mean coming back to Konoha with us? She tried to kill me, Kiba said as Shino and Sai nodded in agreement. Ninjas have to kill if ordered to, it's what happens daily, get used to it. It wasn't a personal attack, they were just doing their jobs. Haku and Zabuza are actually very good people. Zabuza at one point tried to take control of the Hidden Mist village to try and change the evil ways the village had been subjected to, Kakashi explained as the other guys nodded in acceptance. They may still be slightly edgy around the CHUNINs, but they wouldn't deny them entrance or acceptance into Konoha. At this point Naruto entered the doorway, followed shortly by a bandaged Zabuza and a perfectly fine looked Haku. She'd removed her mask so that you could see her pretty face. She still wore her thick coat and wrappings, so no one could tell she was a woman. She would have to get rid of those soon, seeing as she was no longer a missing hunter nin. Hey guys and gals, this is Zabuza-san and Haku-chan, Naruto said as he smiled his famous foxy smile, which made Haku and the rest of the girls blush and made their stomach fill with butterflies. Everyone greeted the two warmly, but kept their guard up just in case. Zabuza and Haku understood their need to protect themselves, and they knew why they were acting like this. Don't worry, I assure you all that we mean no harm. We are here to come to Konoha and hopefully be given citizenship and ninja ID cards, and I hope to settle down in Konoha along with my surrogate father here, Haku said as she smiled up at Zabuza, who was inwardly smiling. And I too wish to travel to Konoha to be given my ID card, Zabuza said as the others nodded their heads. They still didn't trust them, they would need proof, they would need to know and be shown that the two would loyally reside and protect Konoha. Oh, Naruto-kun, came the call of a sickly sweet sounding Ino as the group of girls inched nearer to him, with animal lust being emitted from them in ocean-sized waves. Naruto gulped loudly as he tried to back away into a corner as he started to turn pale from the animalistic looks he was receiving. Haha, poor kid's gonna get raped, Zabuza said as he seemingly pulled popcorn out of nowhere and began to watch the show. Haku stared wide-eyed at this display. Look, the British are coming, Naruto shouted as the girls all got a confused look on their faces. Wah, British, they all said as they turned around to see no one there. They quickly turned back to see Naruto running off, protecting his meat. Get him girls, Kurenai announced as the fox hunt began. And lol, the British are coming XD. I am British and I love to take the crap out of my heritage. If you can't handle abusing yourself, then you are truly a boring person. I am British and I have bad teeth and I love tea and crumpets joke. Zabuza sat down as cries of rape him or get back here were heard from a distance. So Haddock-san, is it always like this around here? You know, the blonde kid getting chased by females and being threatened that he's going to be raped and all, Zabuza said with a perverted giggle, which earned him a bop on the head from Haku and a slight glare too. Well, ever since Naruto slept with Hinata all the girls have been craving for him, Kakashi explained with an eye smile. Haku looked a bit depressed as she sat down next to Zabuza as they began to tell Kakashi that they would be accompanying the group to Konoha and that they would be joining the Konoha forces. They told him that they would be loyal to Konoha, after all a Konoha ninja had saved their lives and they were forever grateful for that. Kakashi wrote all the information down on a separate piece of paper and summoned Pakin to deliver the two messages to Konoha. As Pakin left, 5 very victorious-looking women entered holding a gag tied up Naruto, who was resting over Kyubi's shoulder. The group headed for the bedroom before Ino turned around to confront the surprised yet amused-looking group. "Do not disturb," Ino said in a very strict and stern voice, as everyone nodded their head, quite scarred at the killing intent being released from the group, who also gave one look behind their shoulders to add emphasis on the not part of the speech. The group carried on walking and entered the same room that Hinata and Naruto had been at. Many yells and screams of pleasure were heard throughout that night. And yeah, no lemon, you had one last chapter, and I don't like putting too many lemons in stories, it ruins the storyline in BTW. No one else lost their virginity in this implied lemon, I'm saving those lemons for another time. Azuna's house the following morning. Naruto woke slowly as his eyes fluttered from the morning light, he felt weights all over his body. Naruto opened his eyes and smiled as he saw a sleeping Ino on his left, a sleeping Kyubi on his right, and a very peaceful looking Hinata on his chest. Naruto stayed there for a while, just staring at the girl's beauty. He could feel two people wrapping themselves around each of his legs. He guessed the one who had his right leg was Anko, because he could feel her grinding herself into his leg, which was very Anko-like, and the person on his left had to be Kurenai, because he could feel her large assets rubbing up against him. Naruto waited until he saw all the girls stirring. Hinata opened her eyes and looked into the ocean blue eyes of her one and only. She leant down and kissed him sweetly as he returned it. Ino and Kyubi snuggled in a little deeper into his chest. "I don't want to wake up yet," Hinata said as she placed her tired head down on Naruto's chest. Naruto gave his best to chuckle, it was a morning thing, he couldn't really muster the strength nor willpower to do much. Kyubi gave a cute yelping noise as she yawned and snuggled closer, obviously awake now, just not wanting to be awake yet. Naruto smiled at her. Truthfully, Naruto was fine, he wasn't tired at all, he may have that morning grogginess, but he felt fine and rejuvenated. Maybe it was because of all his stamina from the Kyubi, maybe it was the fact that he had single-handedly pleased all 5 of his mates that were with him. Naruto hadn't penetrated the other girls, yet he wanted to do that when they got home, where he could go for as long as he wanted, without the fear of knowing his comrades or his sensei Kakashi hurt him, or the girls for that matter. "Hinata-chan, I need to go to the bathroom," Naruto whined as Hinata giggled at his impatience. All the girls were awake now, although they didn't open their eyes. Hinata got off of Naruto, the group watched his as he left towards the bathroom. "Shake it, why?" Anko called out as the group giggled perversely. Naruto blushed, which earned him yet more giggles. Naruto sighed as he entered his bathroom. "Perverted mates," Naruto smirked as he got into the shower. Kyubi smirked as she was about to get up and enter the shower to clean her master when Kurenai grabbed her arm. "As much as I would like to join you and the others in cleaning Naruto, we have to go meet up with Kakashi-san, he should have the reports on what Hokage-sama wishes of us," Kurenai said as all the girls sighed sadly and got dressed. They decided not to shower as they felt it would be washing away the love of last night. Oh. Azuna's house, Genzi's room. Genzi had been given her own special room that she slept alone, and she would have had Sakura in there with her, but seeing as she was now deceased, that meant Genzi had to sleep alone because Naruto and his lovers took the girls' dormitories. How she wished that she could be one of Naruto's lovers, she sighed as her heart was aching. Why is it always me to fail?" Genzi said to herself as she teared up. She instantly removed those thoughts. "That kind of thinking is what makes you weak in the first place," Genzi told herself in her head as she returned her look back into her usual shy, nervous yet happy exterior, when in actuality she was curious. She really wanted to ask Hinata how he was in bed, how big he was, how long he could go at if foe. "Bad Genzi," scolded herself as she shook the perverted thoughts away with a huge blush blossoming all over her face. She entered the room where Zabuza and Haku sat on one side and the rest of the group sat on the other. "Ah, Genzi, you're awake now, all we have to do is wait for Naruto and his crew," Kakashi said with a perverted chuckle as Genzi inwardly forehead ticked but kept it from happening. Haku was about to go over and bop him on the head, but Zabuza stopped her, amused grin easily noticeable behind his mask. "Remember, attacking them is treason," Zabuza said, still slightly amused at the fellow masked ninja's comment. The boy sure was lucky at this point. Naruto and his mates walked into the room and were greeted with the usual tired grunts of people who had just woken up. "HMMN," Kiba grunted, eyes still closed as he rested against the seemingly awake Shino. Shino was actually asleep, but his shades hid that fact. Naruto sat down with his mate snuggling up to him, still wanting their morning snuggle. Genzi and Haku sighed quietly with a tint of jealousy and longing. Haku wasn't sure of her feelings, she barely knew him, but she knew he was kind, she knew he put others ahead of himself, and she knew he was a very friendly, funny and caring guy. To have 5 different women with him, Genzi and Haku could only sigh again, as they knew they could never find another man like that. Today's men were all corrupt perverts. The girls noticed this look and expression, and they could only grin to themselves. "Looks like Master has 2 more pretty girls to love," Kyubi said with a smirk as the others nodded in agreement as they studied the bodies of both Haku and Genzi. Haku was now wearing a normal pink battle dress that showed off her curves and her large assets. Who could have thought she looked this beautiful? The rest of the guys finally decided to open their eyes and meet their comrades face to face and get today over with. It was then that all of the guys started to drool over the new form that Haku was showing. Haku blushed as she noticed the beginning looks of surprise that soon suddenly changed to hungry looks. She tried to hide herself from these stares, she had never really been looked upon as why pretty maybe, but most people shoved her off as some ladyman and shudder at the thought. Well, that's enough ogling for today, pervert Sabuza said in his stern father-like voice that he had developed over the years. The guys backed off at the tinge of killing intent being released. Sai looked at his pants. Sensei, I believe I have soiled myself, Sai said casually as he put on his fake smile. As everyone stared at him with wide eyes, they looked down, and sure enough there was a pool of liquid. Everyone backed away from him as his smile seemed to get larger. Note to self, don't use killing intent on that guy, Zabuza said as a tick appeared above his non-existent eyebrows. Everyone's sweat dropped as Sai saw nothing wrong with his reaction. Will someone clean me up? Oh. Time skipped 10 minutes. Everyone had faked to go do something, which left Sai to sort himself out. Naruto and the rest secretly met up away from Sai as Kakashi began to explain what his report read. First off, Hokage-sama has suspiciously told me that he's waiting for our group to return before he lays the Uchiha bombshell on the council. Secondly, he is allowing both missing nins access to our village and is allowing them an audience with the council, Kakashi said as both missing NNS smiled at each other. And he wants to know from you, Naruto, personally what happened. He says he needs you to give the full statement of what you saw because you and Kiba are the only two to have witnessed it and Kiba was apparently unconscious throughout most of the battle, Kakashi said as Kiba and Naruto nodded. Naruto already had a law to hide under what he had done, but would the council accept it? We will be returning to Konoha today. The bridge is basically built now, so all we have to do today is go to the grand opening of the bridge, sign the contract that states we were on this mission, and then leave, Kakashi said as the group nodded. Naruto, Kakashi and the girls however knew about the threat to the village. Geto was still at large. The villagers knew this, but they no longer cared. Merchants would be entering their village and trading with them, so Geto would be out of his job, but Naruto and the girls knew that Geto wouldn't go down without a fight. Kakashi was well aware of the Geto threat and he presumed that he would use his hired men to raid and plunder the village during the happy ceremony just to dampen the mood. And if he didn't, the Konoha group could always search for Geto when they left the village. I want all of you to spread out in groups of 3 among the crowds. Look for suspicious looking people that look like they don't belong in this village, or people who look like they're up to something, Kakashi said as the group nodded. Kakashi began picking out groups of 3, so there would be no quarrel, mainly because the entire female group wanted to go with Naruto. Naruto, Genzi and Haku were put on a team. Genzi and Haku were doing mental victory signs in their heads, both blushing at the thought of being on his team. Well, apparently Naruto-kun can have several women with him and the girls don't seem to mind sharing. I'll have to see if I can make my move, Genzi thought as a huge blush spread across her face. Haku saw this look and smirked. This Naruto guy is kinda cute and the hardships he must face each and every day, not to mention the ones he's already faces, must be awful. I'd love to get to know him better. He seems like the kind of guy to do anything for his precious people, a man after my own heart, and according to him, he came back in time to relive his horrible past. Just to get revenge for his wife and unborn child, Haku thought as a blush appeared on her face too. I will get this guy, thought both girls at the same time as they walked up to him. Both would have liked to do nothing more than hold, kiss and hug him at that moment, but they had to remember that Naruto was unaware of their current feelings. Hinata and the girls noticed the 2 looks the other girls were sporting. It made them smirk. If these 2 girls confessed to Naruto on their own, it would be a lot easier than the group setting up a plan to get Haku and Genzi to become Naruto's mates. Come on, Genzi-chan, Haku-chan, we might as well join in on the fun, Naruto said happily as the 2 girls blushed even further. They nodded shakily as Naruto's smile was making them weak in the knees. The 2 girls followed him like a dog would a bone attached to a car. The other groups went off to the festival too. As much as they disliked it, they couldn't hang out with Naruto for they were on a mission and they had to act professional, otherwise they would most likely die. Oh. Wave Village Bridge. 30 minutes later. The Konoha and missing nin groups were spread out among the crowds. Kakashi, Anko and Kurenai were at the front as they talked to the unofficial Kage of Wave. They were too poor for elections, so he was acting as temporary Kage. The village didn't have a ninja force, so they couldn't really be classed as a hidden village, so the term Kage was used loosely. We're all here today on this joyous occasion to celebrate the completion of the bridge, the Wave Kage said as a loud cheer was heard throughout the crowd. The crowd was a lot less malnourished now. Kids had baby fat on them, now the adults' cheekbones weren't so visible, they had put on a healthy amount of weight. Not only that, but we should also be thankful to the Leaf Ninja that have helped us complete the bridge, risking their lives to defend our village, the Kage continued as another cheer of gratitude sounded throughout the village. The groups of three who were hidden among the crowd blushed at their gratitude. Kakashi, who was up in front, blushed and rubbed the back of his head in an all Naruto-like movement. When the crowd had calmed down, the groups met up on the outskirts of the crowd, near the bridge. "So, anyone see anything suspicious?" Kakashi asked the group. The group all shook their heads. "I don't think Gato has tried to get information on the village, so it's safe to presume three things about him either. 1. He's cocky and believes he can take us all on without information. 2. He's stupid and likes to take things head on and be damned with the consequences. Or 3. He already has information on us, and sending a second scouting team would only compromise their percentage of winning the battle," Naruto explained as the group nodded in agreement. After he said that, and before anyone could continue the explanation, they heard a whizzing sound being made behind them. Kakashi, Naruto and his mates grabbed one of the others and pulled them out the way as a barrage of arrows landed where they had once stood. "What the hell?" Kiba shouted out as the group looked through the morning mist to see a horde of bandits and mercenaries alike. The group of men parted out the way as a small man wearing a small gray suit made his way to the front of his group of men. "I believe you have walked in on my territory and that is unforgivable," Gato said as he smirked as the other growled at him. "If you hand over all of those pretty-looking girls, then we'll let you live, but we won't let the village go unplundered." Gato smirked further as a very dangerous growl was heard coming from Naruto. His eyes turned red and his pupils turned feral, his whisker marks grew more pronounced, and his claws and fangs grew too. When the group thought the transformation was over, Naruto started to change a little more. All 9 of his golden tails were showing, and his golden fox-like ears popped up atop his head. The amount of Kai he was emitting was enough to make the bandits fall to their knees. Choking, Gato forced himself to stand and run away with a coward's cry of help. "Help me, the demon child is going to kill me," Gato shouted as he ran to the back of his bandit army. The villagers were gaping in awe. It wasn't fear what gives. Haku stared at him with curious eyes. "Well, now I know for sure he was telling the truth," Haku thought to herself as she smiled. "Naruto-kun, where have you been all my life?" she thought as a blush came across her face. Genzi was amazed by the transformation, but to her it seemed normal, like that was supposed to happen, like she knew Naruto was part fox. All she could think at that moment was how kawaii his tails and ears looked, but what made her all hot and bothered was the amount of pheromones being released from him. She was getting all wet and lust-filled by the second she started to squeeze her thighs together. To try and please some of the lust that needed to be pleased. Seconds after the pheromones hit Genzi, they hit the other girls, all of them copying Genzi's weird thigh masturbation movements. The males couldn't feel it, so they were unaffected. Thankfully Sasuke wasn't alive to feel it. "You dare threat my mates?" Naruto's demonic voice questioned the retreating form of Gato. Gato made a frightened yelp at the demonic angry tone his name was addressed as. Naruto was about to set off and kill the arrogant midget, but stopped when he noticed a familiar face come out of the crowd, completely unaffected by the Kai, mainly due to the experiment his master did on him to remove the effects of Kai hitting him. That's right, it was Kabuto, Orochimaru's faithful and play toy. "Ah, Naruto-kun, Orochimaru tells me much about you. Do you know who I am?" Kabuto asked as he confidently walked through the crowds of slowly suffocating bandits. Naruto snarled and smirked at the same time he would get to kill that again. He remembered how last time he made the little beg him for forgiveness. "Kabuto, Orochimaru team's faithful little dumpster," Naruto said as he smirked amused at the reaction he got. Kabuto blushed and soon went red in the face, both by embarrassment and rage. The girls began to snicker behind Naruto as the guys cocked an eyebrow and backed away slightly to add emphasis. "You arrogant little shit," Kabuto shouted out as he pulled some medic scalpels out from his medical pouch and ran at Naruto, fully intent on killing him. The girls were fuming. How dare they attack their mate, but before they could react, Naruto had Sunshine behind Kabuto and had impaled him with many blows from kicks, punches and a few kunai jabs. Kabuto landed on the floor with a thud. He shakily stood himself upright and looked into the golden glowing eyes of the demon child. So not only does he have a demon inside of him, but he has a bloodline, a Dojutsu. Orochimaru-sama will defiantly want me to bring him back to him, Kabuto thought, as his brain banished the thought of his own safety or life for that matter, something Orochimaru had done to him years ago. Kabuto staggered towards Naruto slowly. Little did he know that during Naruto's almost inhuman strikes, that he had plunged a kunai into his heart, although Kabuto didn't feel it due to all the experiments. Kabuto dropped to his knees and then fell flat on his face, dead. Naruto turned around and ran full speed towards the cowering Gato, who kept trying to get onto the ship, although he was too small to reach the board that crossed from the boat to the bridge wall. Naruto slashed each and every bandit he passed as they tried to get up and retreat. Before Gato even knew it, he had a clawed hand sticking out behind him, impaling him through the heart. Naruto's hand, the one that had pierced through Gato's body, held Gato's heart in his hand as he squeezed it until it was nothing but pulp. Naruto leaned into the small man's ear as the world began to turn dark. "Don't ever talk shit about my mates again, or I will come to hell personally to kill you again," Naruto said as Gato's eyes rolled back and he fell limp to the ground. Naruto dropped the man's deflated heart and ran back at the bandits that survived. Naruto began slashing through the bandits like a hot knife through butter. They fell in dead in groups of tens. Naruto was about to kill another, but his eyes began to blur, his brain stopped thinking about danger, and his body went limp. He fell to the ground, much to the girl's horror. The 12 bandits who were left decided to stab him a few times all over his body, paying attention to vital organs. There were loud cries of urgent panic coming from the girls, as time seemed to slow down as they ran to their love with as much speed as they could. The bandits saw them coming and bailed towards the ship, not bothering with raiding the village anymore. They just wanted to get out alive. The group of girls kneeled down near their love as they saw life leave his eyes and then close, crying. Absolute screaming could be heard from the group of Naruto lovers. There was nothing they could do, nothing they could have stopped, but one thing they could all say. Naruto. Oh. Dreamscape. Naruto was floating through a continuous background. His brain and body suddenly kicked into action as they both started to work at 100%. What, where, when, why? Naruto shouted out as he frantically looked around the spacey dimension he was apparently floating through. "Naruto-san, sorry about that," came a solemn voice behind Naruto. Naruto turned around, the best he could, to see Shinigami floating there in his specter form. "Sorry for what? Why am I here?" Naruto asked as Shinigami seemed to shuffle, yet again, the best he could. "Well, sorry for shutting your brain down and allowing you to die," Shinigami said as Naruto turned pale and began to panic. "But don't worry," Shinigami said hurriedly. "I will return you to your loves," Shinigami confirmed as Naruto sighed a sigh of relief. "Why have you brought me here, Shinigami-sama?" Naruto asked as Shinigami sighed. "You're here so I can tell you about the new future you have created. You see, due to different teams, different missions have been assigned, different reactions to situations have been made. That in itself has changed the course of history. We cannot tell you what has happened differently, but we can tell you that you're in for a bumpy ride," Shinigami said as Naruto nodded. "I figured as much," Naruto sighed before Shinigami continued. "We, and by we I mean me, Kami-chan and Yami-chan, have decided that you are to receive new mates. They will announce themselves, so do not worry," Shinigami explained as Naruto stood there baffled. At this point Kami and Yami shunshined into the room. Kami's shunshin was a gold glow, while Yami's was a red spark. "Hello there, Naruto-kun," Yami said with a seductive smirk as she walked towards him, shaking her hips suggestively. Naruto's face got red. "I'm gonna get raped for sure this time," he inwardly whined as Yami wrapped her arms around his waist and got to eye level with him. She leaned into his ear and huskily breathed out a seductive suggestion. "You, me, my room now?" she asked with a smirk as Naruto got red in the face and began breathing a little harder. She was about to make the first move on her prey when Kami shot her a glare and stopped her before she could wrap her fingers around her prize. "Yami-chan, now is not the time to molest him. That occasion will be at a later date," Kami said as she smirked with an all-to-Yami-like smirk. It appeared Kami had been corrupted by Yami at long last, or maybe it was the fact that they both loved Naruto. Naruto gulped again and stopped himself from fainting. It had took a lot of his strength, but thanks to all the resistance training he had went through to stop fainting, whenever one of the girls would try and be kinky with him, he seemed to be fine. Although on the inside he was rather turned on by the fact that both Kami and Yami wanted a three-way, although he denied his manhood the correct reaction to his desires. Is there anything else?" Naruto stuttered as Yami leaned into him, further tormenting him. "Uli, she loved it. She loved it when he got embarrassed like this." She saw his composure cracking and decided to bring out the big guns secretly. Kami was enjoying the show just as much as Yami, although she wished she was there too, but she had to keep the whole pure virgin act up. "Start small, Yami decided now was the time to pull out her secret weapon. She started to move her hand down to Naruto's member, which was still being denied the appropriate reaction, and started to stroke it gently. Naruto could no longer restrain himself as he felt his member grow hard. He let out a groan of pleasure as she wrapped her hand around his giant member. Both Kami and Yami gasped at the size. Shinigami began to look away. It felt wrong looking. Yami Eden blushed as she got carried away with her actions, began rubbing her thighs up against his member, while Naruto began feeling her up. What he was doing felt both right and wrong. Right because she started and continued it, wrong because she was one of the most powerfulest beings on the planet. Then small, Not now, Kami said with a tomato red face. In all honesty, she had to do that to resist the urge to go over and help her longtime friend out. She was too turned on now and she needed release, but what she had to tell Naruto was more important and she could always find her release with the help of Yami later. Yami pouted but complied by moving away from Naruto, but not before she leaned into his ear and whispered something that made Naruto shudder, not with disgust, but with fear. Why were all the women after him? "We will continue this, Naruto-kun," Yami whispered seductively into his ear as she gave it a nibble which sent yet another involuntary shudder down Naruto's spine. This time it was part excitement. Yami moved back to Kami's side as Kami gave her a short jealous glare. But then turned to face Naruto with a serious look. "We're really sorry that we had to let you die, but we decided that you needed to know this information as soon as possible, so you know that things are coming, big things, bad things. We cannot tell you more because it may jeopardize the future. All we can do is sit back and hope for the best, and we believe in you, Naruto-kun," Kami said seriously as Naruto blushed at her words. "Well, the girls are, at first, gonna glomp me for dear life and secondly, kick my for scaring them," Naruto sighed as Kami and Yami blushed with embarrassment while Shinigami laughed in triumph. "Why are you laughing, Shinigami-kun?" Kami asked as she gave him a weird look. Why was he laughing when they were apologizing for killing Naruto? Because haha, when he gets back to his world the girls are gonna want to make their time with Naruto-san last. They're going to want to make sure they live every minute with Naruto to the fullest, which means he's probably going to get laid more times this week than a rabbit in heat, Shinigami said with a snicker. Naruto paled. This was true. He gave a small smile, as best he could. At least now he would get to mark them sooner, showing everyone that he was their alpha. "Anyway, there's one more thing we need to tell you," Yami said as Naruto snapped out of his perverted thought and began to listen. Yami noticed this look of perverseness and smiled. At least he was coming out of his shy stupor. "You see, remember when we all accepted you as our apprentices?" Kami said. Naruto nodded, so she continued. "Remember when we both pumped chakra into our hands and striked you?" Kami continued as Naruto nodded again. "Well, look at the spot where we hit you." Yami finished what Kami had started. Naruto pulled up his shirt, much to the two gods' delight, and saw that there were 3 tattoos in a triangle around Kyubi's seal. The tattoo above Kyubi's seal was a deathly visage of the Grim Reaper, with his scythe and glowing red eyes. In the background of the tattoo were weird markings almost like Kyubi's. The tattoo at the bottom right of Kyubi's seal was a heavenly-like angel with wings, silver gold body armor and a golden halo atop its head. In the tattoo's background were familiar markings similar to the Grim Reaper tattoo. The tattoo at the bottom left of Kyubi's seal was an almost demonic-looking angel with dark wings, black red body armor and a red halo atop its head. In the tattoo's background were the same markings to both the Grim Reaper tattoo and angel tattoo. "What are these?" Naruto asked as he stroked a few fingers across the tattoos, as if inspecting them with his mere touch. "They are our power sources that we gave you. If you channel chakra out of the tattoos, then you will call upon its strength, transforming you in the process. The angel one is from me, the demonic angel is from Yami-chan, and the Grim Reaper tattoo is from Shinigami-kun," Kami explained as Naruto nodded gleefully. He was happy because with more power came more of a foothold in protecting his precious people. "Thanks, I think I'll need this for the future to come," Naruto said as the group nodded. He started to swirl out of the dimension, but before he left Shinigami shouted out to him. "Then art, KHNIAIE," Shinigami said. "OBTEWHAIPENTYRFT," Kami shouted. "Then here's the challenge. Who can tell me what they were trying to tell him? If you answer correctly, well, you get cyber cookies and a shout out in my next chapter. PS I made it hard. P. Oh. Wave Village, Tazuna's house bedroom. Naruto woke up with a grunt in a room that smelt familiar. What was Kami-chan and that ghost ball trying to tell me? Naruto thought as he tried to stand up only to find out that he was being weighed down. Naruto opened his eyes to look into 7 worried, puffy, red, damp eyes. He then remembered what happened and smiled kindly at them. The girls whimpered and drove their heads into his chest and arms as they cried. Naruto pet their heads in an even order. He was surprised that Haku and Genzi were crying for him. "He thought you were dead," Hinata cried out as she cried a little harder into his chest as Naruto began petting her head a little softer. He felt bad for what he had done and a little angry towards Shinigami, Kami and Yami for letting it happen to him and in essence killing him. "I'm sorry, my Himes, it was Kami, Yami and Shinigami's faults," Naruto explained as Genzi and Haku gasped. "I met the 3 gods," Haku shouted in disbelief as Genzi laid there, awestruck. Naruto began explaining to the 2 newcomers all that had happened to him since he got put in hospital in his previous life. He explained to them why he came back in time, how he had killed Sasuke and Sakura for revenge, how he had become the apprentice to all 3 gods, and how the 3 had in actuality killed him so they could tell him some things. "When I meet those 3, I'm going to kill them," Kyubi cried out as she clutched Naruto closer to him, as did the others. Naruto was slightly scared and confused. "Why, Kyubi Haim?" Naruto asked, to which Hinata answered with an angry yell. "What do you mean why they killed you? When I meet those 3 there will be more than hell to pay," Hinata yelled out as she glared at Naruto, causing him to flinch. When Hinata realized that she had just yelled at Naruto and for no reason, she began to tear up. "I am sorry, Naru," she didn't get to finish as Naruto pushed his lips to hers as the 2 kissed passionately for a few minutes. When Naruto looked up he saw Hinata's worried face and smiled at her. There's nothing to be sorry for Hinata. I shouldn't have gone out there alone in the first place. If I hadn't, then you all wouldn't be sad at the moment, Naruto said as he kissed Hinata's forehead and began to make out with the other girls to show them that he loved them all equally. Hinata smiled as she rested her head on his chest and began kissing it. Kyubi was helping her as she too kissed along his stomach. The other girls were trying to kiss or lick as much of his face as they could. Even Genzi and Haku, who had not been accepted into the harem, were making out with Naruto and doing things to him. I love you Naruto-kun, Genzi said as she lit up like a light bulb. This was at the moment of truth she had said it. Would Naruto accept her? I sound like an announcer. I love you too Genzi-chan, Naruto said and lip-locked with her. Genzi's eyes went wide and her face, at first, went pale, but then it went a lobster red. And then she fainted. Haku smiled at the girl. Genzi was lucky, but would she be? I love you too, Naruto-kun, Haku said as she blushed a deep red. Although Hinata and Genzi would have put her to shame, Naruto smiled back at her as he got up to her ear. And I you my snowflake, Naruto said into her ear as she blushed an even brighter shade of red and fainted just like Genzi. Do you think I overdid anything? Naruto smiled as the others grinned at him, still with tear-filled eyes, but these eyes were ones filled with joy and relief. Maybe just a little, Naruto-kun, Ino said as she cuddled up closer to him. She sighed out in peace as she found a comfortable spot to place her head. It was then that Naruto noticed his tails were out and his fox ears remained. He smirked as he wrapped a tail around each of his loves, using the remaining two as petting tails that petted the girls' hair. The girls purred as they felt a tail wrap around their bodies. The girls used them as pillows or as snuggling companions. The girls all laid their heads down on a part of Naruto and began to drift off. Tomorrow would be the day they would return home. The girls slept soundly, still overjoyed that their hubby was still alive. Oh. Omix. Lord of the Rings Omix. This is what happens when Naruto is transformed into Smeagol and he loses his precious. Naruto precious, where is it? Sasuke talking about the ring. Naruto, no, I have no use nor need for rings. I'm of King Gollum, what the hell would I want with a ring? Sasuke, alright, calm down, I thought I'd try to put a copyright claim on your Omix. Naruto, be quiet with your fancy words. I am looking for my precious Raymond. Toji, Ino and Shikamaru approach the two. Toji, damn, this Raymond kicks ass. Shikamaru, you say that about all food. Naruto, the fat one has precious. Toji, I'm not fat, I'm just big boned. Naruto pounces Choji and bites his finger off in the scuffle. Toji, what the, he bit my finger off. Naruto, give me precious and I won't bite something else that looks of a similar shape and size to your finger. Toji eats and throws the raiment to Naruto. Naruto, my precious shhh, I know the fat one won't try to eat you again. Naruto, Guy and Kakashi challenge. Come on Kakashi, what is your dare? Kakashi, sigh, I dare you to air to see how long you can hold your breath underwater. Lee, come on Guy sensei, you will show your rival your flames of youth. That is right, prepare to smolder under the intense flames of my youthfulness. Jumps into the nearby lake and holds his breath for about 10 minutes. Kakashi, can he hold his breath any longer? Lee, Guy sensei can do anything he is. I's lifeless body floats up to the surface. Kakashi, if we go now then no one will ever know. Lee, Guy sensei. Kakashi runs out of the clearing and heads for Konoha. Lee picks Guy's body up into his arms and screams to the heavens. Lee, Guy sensei. Naruto stirred as the morning light intruded his visions. He sighed as he opened his eyes to start the new day. What he was greeted with, however, were 7 pairs of lust-filled eyes. Naruto was brought into a passionate kiss by Hinata, who growled while she kissed him, showing her dominance in the situation. Naruto was extremely surprised, to say the least. Hinata was kissing with such ferocity and dominance. Why would she want to be the dominant one? Naruto snapped out of his shock and tried to prove himself as the alpha. Naruto couldn't flip her over because the other girls were on both of his sides, so he just decided to fight back in the same position. He kissed her feverishly as his hand subconsciously roamed her back and backside. His tongue explored the inside of her mouth as she succumbed to the pleasure and gave up in being the dominant one. As Naruto parted her mouth so he could catch his breath, he noticed Hinata had let her Jinjutsu down and that all 3 of her tails were entwined with 3 of his. Naruto had at some point unconsciously wrapped his tails around Hinata's while she did the same. Oh, that looks so cute, Ino said as she and the others giggled at the 2 lovers' entwined tails. Naruto blushed as the girls started pampering his tails. Anko and Kyubi went a bit too far as they glomped his tails, which caused Naruto's manhood to rise to attention. Hinata ed as she felt his member rub up against the inner of her thigh. Hinata began to grind herself into Naruto's crotch as the other girls smiled wickedly as he ed. Oh, by the way Naruto-kun, I think someone owes us compensation for giving us that huge fright the other day, Kurenai said with the others nodding in agreement, all except Hinata, who had already unbuttoned Naruto's trousers and was pulling his member out into the morning air. The girls licked their lips when they saw his manhood rise from out of his trousers. Master, I know you said we should wait until we're back in Konoha, but I really don't want to, Kyubi said as she got closer to Naruto's pulsing member. She kneeled down and took Naruto's soldier's head into her mouth. Naruto let out a loud as Kyubi began bobbing her head up and down on Naruto's crotch. Hinata, who wasn't one to be left out of something like this, began to down the left side of Naruto's shaft as she went up and down at the same time Kyubi did. Naruto was in pleasure as he clutched the bed sheets. Anko went over and knelt down to the right of Naruto as she began to copy Hinata's technique as she began to on the right side of Naruto's exposed shaft, going up and down at the same time as Kyubi and Hinata. If Naruto was in heaven before then he couldn't imagine how high he was above the heavens currently. Genzi didn't feel right with the whole situation. She was only 14 and apparently Naruto and his other mates were all 19 and above, so it made sense that they should be able to have, but she was still a minor. She decided to eat and pass out on the floor as blood rushed from her nose. Haku, who was 16, didn't think it was the right time for her to just submit to the blonde. She wanted to get to know him a little better. She didn't feel comfortable being around all these other women, so she fainted along with Genzi. Kurenai and Ino shrugged as the two newcomers fainted. More of him for us, they thought with a smirk. The two got up and got before they both squatted over Naruto's face, already dripping their juices on his face. Please Naruto-kun, I needed, Ino whimpered as her and Kurenai's womanhoods connected with each other's, giving Naruto an easier job of satisfying them both at the same time. Naruto smirked one of his foxy smirks, which made them both boil over as their bodies heated up and their dripping s got a lot wetter. Naruto gave one slow, torturing lick as the two girls shuddered and at the contact of his wet tongue on their womanhoods. The two girls started making out as Naruto gave them both orally induced mini orgasms while he ed and groaned into their womanhoods as the other three girls began to go a lot faster and deeper as they felt Naruto's excitement go up. Kurenai and Ino screamed Naruto's name as they held onto each other as they sprayed Naruto's face with their juices. Naruto slurped and drank up everything they gave him, adamant on not losing a drop of the precious liquid. Naruto's member began to twitch as he felt the building up tension nearing its release. Come on over girls, Narukun's going, Tonko said as she returned to ing on his member. Kyubi removed her mouth from his member and began licking up and down the length his scrotum while the others gathered round, waiting for the eventual waterfall to burst. Naruto grunted as he fired his seed into the air as the girls gathered round, catching his bursts off before they could go to high up. They kept hissing their mouths as they savored and familiarized themselves with the taste. MMMNN, you taste good, Naruto-kun, Ino purred as she curled up his body. Naruto, who had just come down from his Ul high, noticed Ino's actions as she positioned herself for him to enter her. Naruto grasped her arms quickly before she made an irreversible decision. Wait, Ino-chan, are you sure? Naruto asked worriedly as Ino frowned slightly. Why wouldn't I be? I love you, don't I want you to be my first, Ino said as she stared at him angrily as Naruto saw the errors in his ways. He didn't mean to sound like he didn't want to or that he wouldn't. I'm sorry, Ino-chan, I didn't mean to come off like that. What I meant to say is, are you sure losing your virginity when you're a woman is a painful process? Naruto didn't get to finish as Ino crushed her lips to his as the two made out. Naruto was surprised at first but melted into the kiss like ice cream to a hot piece of metal. When she released his lips, she started to rub herself slowly against Naruto's member, lubricating Naruto's member so the process would be easier. It always hurts for a girl's first time, but only for a few minutes after that it's pure pleasure, Ino said enthusiastically as she plunged herself onto Naruto's member. Ino let out a cry of pain as she silently sobbed into Naruto's chest. Naruto was going to say I told you so, but decided after all this change in feminine emotions that it would be best to stay quiet. After a few minutes of Naruto kissing the top of her head and stroking her back did she start to move. At first it was a gentle grind that made the two groan softly, although it was tormenting for Naruto. All he wanted to do was slam into her, but he would never do that to a girl who had just lost her virginity. It would be cruel and classed as rape in his mind. After about 10 seconds of gentle grinding did Ino feel comfortable with bouncing and riding Naruto like a wild animal. The two let loud groans escape their lips as Ino rode Naruto as fast as she could. Ino was in heaven as she felt every inch of Naruto's member inside of her. She loved the feeling of him being inside of her. Oh Kami Naruto, I love it, you're so big, please don't stop, Ino yelled as she leant backwards and put her hands on Naruto's shins to keep her upright. As Ino was riding Naruto she felt a pair of soft hands cup both of her s. The very same person leant over her and shoved her tongue down Ino's throat. If Ino thought she was in heaven before then she was mistaken because this was true heaven. She felt her release coming sooner than she had hoped. Naruto, with me I want to bear your child, Ino screamed as Naruto leant upwards and bit down on her neck as Ino's womanhood tightened on Naruto's thick rod. Ino returned the favor by biting Naruto on the neck, right beside Hinata's mark. Naruto groaned as he felt the increased friction and couldn't help but love it. He groaned before he grunted and shot his seed into Ino's womb. At the same time she sprayed her essence all over Naruto's wet and sticky member. Ino collapsed forward onto Naruto's chest as she breathed heavily. She was having a hard time staying conscious with the amount of pleasure she had received. She'd hate to admit it, but she was spent. One of the other girls was about to have a go before. "Naruto, you can do that later, we need to get back to Konoha," came the angry yells of Kakashi from outside the room's door. The girls were inwardly fuming. "You son of a, come back later, can't you see our man's claiming us?" Anko shouted as there were yells of angry agreement. "We don't have time for this, Hokage-sama says we need to come back ASAP, he says it's urgent," Kakashi shouted from the other side of the wall. The girls all grumbled as they got dressed. Naruto, Hinata and Kyubi put hinges up as they were about to leave. Ino was still in Naruto's arms. It was then that he noticed that she had transformed like the rest. Ino had a cute light blonde tail with a matching 2 light blonde fox ears atop her head. Her hair had a tinge of red streaks in it, making her look a-lottier. Naruto realized that she was still unconscious, so he used a genjutsu on her. For her, if it was up to him, he would let all of his mates show their true form, but sadly, this world was too simple-minded to change her indifference. Hinata picked up Genzi while Kyubi picked up Haku. Kyubi walked over towards Naruto as she stopped in front of him. "Master, I think it would only be fair if you carry Haku-chan, she hasn't seen much of you and is still in those stages of her feelings for you. Developing Genzi is still at that stage too, although she already loves you and knows you more because she and Hinata spent time in their past lives spying on you in secret," Kyubi said as Naruto nodded in agreement. The two swapped who they were holding and departed the room. As they left, they saw the crazy perverted blushes coming from everyone there. Naruto gulped as he went a bit red from embarrassment. Forgot to put a seal up again. He inwardly scolded himself for not thinking ahead of times. "Right, we need to head out of this place now. Hokage-sama says that he needs to speak to you, Naruto. He says it's important," Kakashi said in a bored tone as Naruto nodded. It probably had to do with Shinigami or something. It was at this point Zabuza noticed Haku, his face contorted in anger. "Did you sleep with Haku?" Zabuza asked angrily as he approached the sweating Naruto, who held his arms out protectively. "No, I swear she passed out when she saw me," Naruto blurted out as he whimpered away from the growingly enraged Zabuza. "Pray tell, why were you?" Zabuza shouted as his hand subconsciously inched nearer to his large sword. Naruto said as he backed into a corner. He had no way to make the situation seem justified. "Wait, stop," we undressed Naruto-kun while Haku-chan was looking so she fainted, Hinata admitted as the other girls nodded. Zabuza looked at Naruto sharply as he saw the blonde sweating bullets. He could see it in the boy's eyes that this was the truth. He released the grip he had on his sword and let his arms limp to his sides. "Very well, but if that Gaki so much as touches her without her permission, my consent, and a published document that binds my agreement to it, then they are not to have any Yule relations. Am I clear?" Gaki Zabuza asked as Naruto sighed in relief as he stood normally. "Of course I would never even think of touching Haku if she didn't want me to, never mind dual relations, so why don't you go cool down and go use slugs for your non-existent eyebrows," Naruto said as he let out a chuckle and ran away from a fuming Zabuza. If Haku wasn't in his arms, Executioner would have a nice slice and dice with a certain blonde on the menu, Zabuza smirked evilly as the group sweat dropped and began to leave for Konoha. Naruto caught up to the group after he decided he was safe from Zabuza. He went up behind the girls and started to hum the psycho tune. The girls giggled as they turned around to see a grinning Naruto holding a still unconscious Haku. "Naruto-kun, stop scaring me and hurry up, I want to see what the villagers named the bridge," Hinata playfully scolded as Naruto smiled at her and caught up to the group. As they were walking, Naruto heard the villagers talking about the Konoha group. He walked past a bunch of villagers as they smiled and greeted him with a handshake and a "Kami bless you" from some and "thank you" hero, which confused Naruto. Hero was such a powerful word and was only used on people who had achieved great things. Naruto heard a group of girls talking about him off to the side. "Hey, look, it's that hero of wave guy Naruto Uzumaki, he looks so freaking hot," the girl shouted in an excited whisper that only someone who was about a meter near her would hear. Although Naruto was no normal person, he had the help of Kyubi's immense hearing abilities. Naruto blushed a hard shade of red as he heard them. Kyubi and Hinata smirked as they heard them too. "Oh look, everyone wants to bang our hubby," Kyubi said in a mock sad voice as the other girls giggled. They understood that the three of them had great hearing and had probably heard someone say something ill about Naruto. Naruto's sweat dropped as he walked through the streets filled with hungry, watching eyes. Thankfully they were all female eyes. Naruto found that strange. No males. Little did he know that the wives of the Wave Village had all tied up their husbands, boyfriends and children just so they could watch Naruto without their jealous partners wanting to kick the blondes there and then. Naruto kept on walking as his mates kept a close eye on the growing crowd of female followers. The girls smirked and looked at Naruto, who was red in the face as he sweated bullets. When the group finally made it to the bridge, they saw that Kakashi and the rest of their comrades were talking to the current Wave Cage. The man seemed to be a very nice, kind and gentle man. "Citizens of Wave," the Wave Cage pronounced, but stopped the rest of his speech when he noticed the crowd was entirely female. Females of wave after that he got a loud cheer from the female crowd. We are here today to thank these ninjas for all they have done, the cage continued as an even louder cheer was heard. The ninjas blushed at the attention in Konoha. All you got for completing a mission was a pat on the back and your payout. But one ninja we all owe our lives to, for he almost lost his own in protecting this village. That ninja's name is Naruto Uzumaki, the wave cage shouted out as an unrealistically loud cheer was heard from the ecstatic crowd. Naruto blushed a deep red and would most likely have passed out if it hadn't been for the rest of the village to walk up to the female crowd to create an even larger crowd again. Naruto didn't know that the males had been tied up in their own houses while their wives and girlfriends went to watch Naruto. The group of ninjas thanked the village and the wave cage for their hospitality and left to return home to Konoha. After all, the HOKAGE said it was urgent, and when the HOKAGE ordered you to return home, then you better do it fast or you face treason charges. As the ninjas left to return to Konoha, there was a loud cheer from behind. I say we call it the Great Naruto Bridge. All in favor, Tazuna said as the group of villagers cheered in agreement. All opposed, Tazuna said as one elderly white-haired man at the back of the group spoke while he was sitting atop a medium-sized toad. I say we call it the ultimate pornographic unispa resorts that allow elderly perverts to bring cameras. Bridge use with me. There were many screams of and hell no from the wave village as the group made it past the bridge. Naruto, Kyubi, Ino and Hinata chuckle jiggled as Naruto's past life sensei Jiraiya was getting beaten badly. "What's so funny, Naruto-kun?" Kurenai asked as Naruto stifled his chuckles a little so he could answer her. Hiro-sanin is getting his handed to him by a lot of enraged women, most likely from the anti-group. Naruto said as the girls gave him a giggle. Kyubi smirked as she approached Naruto and wrapped her arms around his waist as she purred into his ear. "Maybe you could be a bit more of a," Kyubi said as Naruto flushed a deep shade of red. "In time, Kyubi-chan, I'm still not really used to all of this," Naruto admitted as the girls nodded. It must be hard for Naruto. I mean, he was never shown any love until he met Shion. Hinata was too shy and the others hadn't realized their feelings at all. All in all the girls didn't know how to feel for him until he returned from his training trip when he was 15. Oh. 5 hours later, road to Konoha. The group of Konoha ninjas, including the 2 newly added nuke nins, were almost right outside of Konoha's north gate. The guards on duty were newly appointed chunin who were getting used to the chunin lifestyle. Naruto and the group entered the village and made their way to the chunin guards so they could get their identifications checked out. Kakashi-san, Hokage-sama wishes to speak with you and your group in his office, the first chunin guard said as Kakashi nodded with a bored sigh as the group made their way to the Hokage tower. "What do you think the old man wants?" Naruto asked Kakashi as Kakashi gave the blonde a bored look. "Your guess is as good as mine, and by the way, I'll be asking Hokage-sama about your eye tricks and the seemingly immense burst of power you have acquired, so if you need to tell me anything important, it's best to tell me now instead of putting me on a wild goose chase," Kakashi said as he gave Naruto a slightly suspicious look. "Don't worry, sensei, whatever I would tell you is the exact same thing Jiji would tell you," Naruto said as he waved his sensei off. Kakashi sighed in annoyance as the group continued to walk towards the Hokage tower. They were almost there when Naruto-kun came the cries of several familiar female voices. Naruto whipped his head around only to be glumped to the floor by several familiar bodies. Naruto managed to pick his head up enough to see the people lying on his body. Shion, Isaribi, Tsunade, Shizune, Temari and Tenten. Tenten seemed to be a little calmer than the rest as she had already seen Naruto and spent some time with him, but that didn't stop her from glumping him like the rest. Shion was crying into his chest as she laid on top of him. Naruto's happy demeanor dropped as soon as he realized what was happening around him. He stroked Shion's hair as he whispered sweet nothings into her ear. She whimpered every now and then as she clutched tighter and tighter to his shirt, making sure he wouldn't disappear. "Do away with your child," and soon Shion stated as she looked up with teary yet determined eyes. Her eyes showed that she would not back down from this and that Naruto had the same amount of choice in this as a fly would have choice to not continue to knock into a bright light. Naruto nodded dumbly yet stiffly as he paled from the look of determination from his mate's stare. It was then that Naruto noticed Tsunade's obvious age change. She was no longer a 50-year-old that looked 30, she looked like a 21-year-old. "Tsunade-chan, what happened?" Naruto asked worriedly as he presumed the worst of the situation, that Shinigami had done something bad to her, but she stopped his tirade of what-ifs when she explained. "When we were sent back in time, it seems Shinigami gave me the body of my 21-year-old self and I can produce babies now," Tsunade said with a blush but ended it with a happy giggle. Along with a giant blush and nosebleed at how that would happen, Naruto smiled at her and brushed a bang of hair away from her eyes and kissed her gently as she sighed in contempt and returned it with as much love as she could muster. Shion playfully pouted until she got a devious smirk on her face as she began to caress her man's manhood while he was still kissing Tsunade. Naruto but ended the kiss quickly. "What are you doing, Shion-chan? We're in public." Naruto quietly panicked as he tried to get Shion to stop, only for her to grab a hold of it roughly as she brought her lips to his ears. "Maybe not now, but later I can promise you," Shion said with a seductive grin on her face, as Naruto gulped loudly but was inwardly smiling. The rest of the newly arrived group giggled as they whipped away their tears, realizing Naruto was fine now and that they could continue to be with him later on. "So where have all of you girls been? We were expecting you to arrive a few days before I left the village to go on the wave mission," Naruto asked as the newly arrived group sighed as they remembered the irritating ordeal they went through. "Well, there were barricades of ninjas all around Konoha's borders. They were apparently spying on our nation to get information on the new genin teams. When they realized that the Choshikano trio team and the Hinakishi trio team weren't made, then they decided researching this year's genin team weren't worth it, so we had to wait outside the borderlines until the ninjas left," Tsunade explained as. Naruto cocked an eyebrow. "Why are they allowed to spy on us?" Naruto asked angrily as Tsunade sighed again. "Because they were on our borderline. If we don't catch them in our land, then we can't prosecute them for anything out of bounds. I didn't see them sending spies in our village, but that's what they were doing. It's an old military trick. Say that it was an education exercise to cut off a village temporarily, only allowing emergency supplies in. So they could send spies in our village without the travelers entering the village to warn the ninjas that the bordering ninjas were actually sending spies," Tsunade explained, as Naruto growled. "Dirty good for nothing spying scumbags," Naruto ranted as the group continued to walk. The girls giggled at some of his ranting as Naruto remained unaware that everyone with him could hear him. The group made it to the HOKAGE tower as they all went upstairs and into Sarutobi's office, where the old man was waiting, smoking his pipe with a faraway yet sad look on his face. The group made it into his room and spread out so that they could all see the old man, the female side sticking with Naruto. Ino, Haku and Genzi had just woken up and were all sticking rather close to Naruto. Kakashi coughed expectantly as Sarutobi shook out of his trance and blushed a bright red from embarrassment, having been snuck up on by mere genins. He fumbled with his pipe at the sudden shock until he got a good firm hold on his pipe and tried to regain his composure. "Harem, oh yes Naruto, I need to speak with you after this is all over," Sarutobi said sadly as Naruto frowned a little. What could be so bad that the old man was almost wincing at the mere stare from the blonde. "So I presume we give the status report of our mission now?" Kakashi asked as Sarutobi nodded. Kakashi got a slip of paper out from within his pocket and handed it to the old man as he nodded and put the slip in the pile of the rest of his paperwork. "Now Zabuza-san and Haku-san, I have told the council of the two of you, they very much wish to speak to you Haku because of your bloodline limit and they wish to speak to you Zabuza because of your past idol and your skill in Kenjutsu," Sarutobi explained as the two Kirin nodded in understanding. "They want you to attend a council meeting later on today to determine if they should allow you to stay in Konoha as a ninja," Sarutobi continued as he received another pair of nods from the ex-internins. "That will be all. May everyone, except for those who know of Naruto's condition, go. Will I speak to the rest?" Sarutobi asked as the group nodded and left, some of them pondering on what Sarutobi meant by condition, while Kakashi cursed his luck, thinking that he would have to wait till later before he could ask Sarutobi about Naruto's sudden increase in power. When the rest of the group left, leaving only two males, consisting of Naruto and Zabuza, and the rest of the group were incidentally entirely females that were infatuated with Naruto, Sarutobi sighed and began. "Naruto, what I'm about to tell you is very hard for me to say. I'd like you to listen to the whole story before you judge me, but I understand if you hate me afterwards," Sarutobi said as he sighed a sad sigh as Naruto inwardly gasped. Whatever the old man had to tell him was indeed serious if he would act like this. "You see, the night the Kyubi was sealed into you, we presumed that your mother had died, but in actuality, she had fled when she was told that you and Minato had died during the sealing," Sarutobi said as Naruto's face paled and his eyes went white, as did the other girls in the room who knew Naruto well. They held onto him comfortingly as they tried to soothe Naruto if he went off on one. "Right after Kushina gave birth to you, she passed out from lack of stamina, and when she woke up, one of the council members, who she knew and trusted very well, tricked her into thinking you were dead," Sarutobi said as Naruto started to growl dangerously as tears began to fall down his face. Hinata brought him into a hug as she got her body as close to his as possible. The other girls did the same thing as they started to tear up a little at the sight of their man hurting like this. My mom's Olive," Naruto asked quietly as his face held a blank look, yet his eyes were still wide and tears were falling slowly from his eyes. The look may have come across as shocked, which he was. "Yes Naruto, the reason I haven't told you yet is because I hadn't known until recently. You see, I received a message from Whirlpool Country telling me she's alive and that she's now currently sane. You see. She went rather insane after Minato and supposedly you died and she's only just made a recovery. I sent them a message stating that you're alive. I'm waiting for a response," Sarutobi said as he looked down. It may not have been his fault entirely, but he knew he should have confirmed that Kushina was alive or not. Why didn't you find her sooner? Why didn't Onion track her down? Naruto asked shakily as he tried to process all this information at once, which proved extremely difficult to the blonde. Sarutobi sighed as he began his explanation. The very same council member was also very close to me, and he told me that Kushina died during child labor and that the Kyubi had decimated the building she was in right after Minato left, when in actuality, her family members were with her when the council member told her you had died, so Kushina's family brought her back to her clan, Sarutobi explained as Naruto nodded in understanding. Then why didn't you send my clan members to look after me, and why didn't my family members check with you first before leaving? Naruto asked as he swallowed his stutter to try and relax and keep a level head. Well, because we were told that the entire Uzumaki clan had been whipped out when they were waiting with Kushina. I had no idea that they had actually survived, left and created their own village, Sarutobi explained as Naruto gasped a little. Their own village? Naruto asked, stunned quite a bit at the knowledge of technically being an heir to a village somewhere. Where does it say that? Naruto asked quietly as he still couldn't come to grips with all this new information. Yes, and it says it right here, Sarutobi said as he handed Naruto a message with a red spiral seal on the cover that keeps out onlookers who weren't supposed to see what was inside. Incidentally, it was the same symbol for the clan's emblem on the letter, acting as a seal. Naruto's shaky hands picked up the letter as he began to read it. He was shocked at what he read. Oh. Letter from Whirlpool. Naruto Uzumaki is alive, but the council member told us he was dead. We even saw Minato. Where is he? How is he? We need to know, Sarutobi-sama. Our clan is coming over to Konoha for a visit. This is non-negotiable. Kushina-sama hasn't been able to sleep a good night's sleep in 12 years. We haven't told her or the rest of the clan about Naruto, yet if she knew then she would come running as fast as she could. Who knows what would happen to her in the current state of mind she's in. Furthermore, how dare you not tell us sooner? The entire clan's coming. Kushina, Naruto's cousins, uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, grandparents, the lot will be there in a week's time, and if what you tell me about his childhood is true, then you better pray that Kushina and the rest of us don't castrate you with a rusty spoon and tie you up to a tree by your scrotum. Oh. Naruto stopped reading the letter as tears flowed freely from his eyes as he understood he had family and that they loved him. Hinata brought him into a bear hug as she brought his head to her chest as Naruto wrapped his arms around Hinata as he cried into her chest. The others wrapped him up as they let their own tears flow, although when Kyubi read the letter out loud, the group were ecstatically happy for their man. That letter was written by your sister, Naruto Moku Uzumaki, fiery little thing just like her mother. Sarutobi smiled sadly as he reminisced about the Uzumaki clan and how close he had gotten to them over the years. I have a sister, Naruto shouted out happily as he whipped away the tears that continued to fall, although they were tears of joy and of happiness. Sarutobi smiled at this, at least Naruto wasn't angry at him. Yes, Naruto, she's 2 years older than you, and she is very much like your mother. I could tell you all about them if you want, but knowing you, you probably want to find out all about them yourself, huh? Sarutobi said with a kind smile as he suppressed a lone tear that threatened to fall. He was extremely happy that the Uzumakis were still alive and that Naruto had family. I'd like to find out myself, Gigi, even though I'm dying to know, Naruto said happily as he couldn't remember being this happy or excited before. Sure, knowing that Shion was going to have a baby was extremely exciting for Naruto. It was a very close second to this moment because Naruto knew that Shion and him would probably have a baby soon anyway. Everything seemed to be working out for Naruto today. Zabuza gave him a smirk, although on the inside he was happy that the blonde Gaki had found his family. Haku was hugging him to no end. She knew what kind of relief it must feel like to know your family is alive. She could only wish that her man was happy. Hey, Gigi, Naruto said as he got a questioning look on his face. Sarutobi nodded to show he was listening. How come this never happened in my past life? And Naruto's face got serious as his eyes tinted a slight blood red. Who was the council member that told my family that I was dead and told you that my family was dead? Naruto asked as his fangs elongated and his eyes grew a darker red. Sarutobi sighed and knew Naruto wasn't going to like this. It was Orochimaru, Sarutobi said as Naruto's eyes widened and he suddenly transformed into a full demon transformation. Sarutobi looked on with interest with the sudden change of physical body mass. The girls instantly reacted to their instincts as they began to soothe and pet Naruto's tails and hair. It's okay, Naruto-kun, we'll get the bastard, you just need to calm down and enjoy the visit from your family, Isaribi said as Naruto calmed down and transformed back into his hybrid state where he had fox ears and tails along with slit pupils. Naruto once again purred at the gentle strokes of his lover's hands on different parts of his body. Naruto rubbed his cheek against Shizune's palm as she giggled at the intense vibrations coming off of him and onto her palm. The others noticed these vibrations and put their heads to his chest or back so they could feel the vibrations. They all giggled hysterically as the purring continued and their faces were vibrating from his purr. Sarutobi sighed but held a slight happy smile still. Naruto, if I am not mistaken, you have a meeting with the council. I wanted you to tell them all personally along with your heritage if you feel like it, that is. Sarutobi said as Naruto sighed and nodded his head. He knew something would ruin it. Every action has a positive and negative reaction. It was life. Oh, by the way, the letter didn't have a date. When are my family coming to see me? Naruto asked, to which Sarutobi smirked in amusement. Tomorrow, Sarutobi said as he enjoyed the sight of Naruto's expanding wide eyes, paling skin and growing mouth. Tomorrow? Are you crazy? It's too soon. What do I say? What do I do? Naruto said as he put both hands on his head to try and keep him conscious. Hinata grabbed his hand and placed it down to hers. I'm sure you can do it, Naruto-kun. You've wanted this all your life. Just be yourself, be nice to them all, don't come on too strong at first. You don't want to come off as cocky or arrogant, Hinata lectured as Naruto nodded, taking it all in. If that was all he had to do, then he would put his all in when the time came. Thanks, Hinata-chan, I needed that, Naruto said as he smiled at her as he squeezed her hand, much to Hinata's delight. She squeezed back and gave him a light kiss on the lips. No problem, Naruto-kun, anytime. She kissed him lightly again. Naruto sighed happily as he said goodbye to his surrogate Jiji and left with the group to go to the council where Naruto, Haku and Zabuza were currently needed. As Naruto walked out, he looked at Temari as he realized something. How come you're wearing a Konoha headband? Have you become a ninja in Konoha? Naruto asked excitedly, to which Temari giggled and nodded her head as Naruto brought her into a kiss. Which she sighed happily and melted right into it. I got my ninja ID too, it's righty, Temari began, but was cut off by the sound of someone throwing up. Naruto whipped his head round as his mating instincts were kicking in. He looked at Hinata, who was currently being sick in a nearby bin. Naruto and the others quickly rushed to her as Naruto checked her over and held her hair back as she continued to puke. When she was finished, she looked pale and her eyes half-lidded as she showed the classic I'm sick look. Hinata-chan, are you okay? Naruto asked as he looked her over, to which she shook her head. Do you feel sick all of a sudden? Hinata said as she almost collapsed into Naruto's arms. Naruto picked her up and took her back to the mansion, along with the other girls. Hey, put her down in the king-size bed as Tsunade looked her over with a medical jutsu, looking for what type of illness she was suffering from, not paying attention to what may have caused the illness in the first place. It just seems to have been a come-and-go illness where you just feel all woozy all of a sudden and then it vanished the next. It happens all the time, although the time from when she's okay and when she's not differs. All we can do is let her rest, Tsunade explained, to which the others nodded sadly. Naruto leant down and kissed her gently, which caused her to smile a little, if even a little, as she drifted off to sleep. Naruto-kun, aren't you afraid you might catch what she got? Shion asked, to which Naruto frowned at the question. She's my woman, I don't care, Naruto said as he smiled, along with the others. Naruto then looked back down at Hinata. I need you girls to stay up here with Hinata while I, Haku-chan and Zabuza-san go to the council meeting. I'll be back as soon as I can, I promise, Naruto said as he gave a kiss to each one of the girls and finally leaving one last kiss on Hinata's forehead, to which she sighed happily. Naruto, Haku and Zabuza exited the mansion and found their way to the council meeting. All the time Naruto was worried about Hinata. Oh. Konoha council meeting. The council members were all discussing different things among each other, the civilian council talking about what wares they were planning to endorse or what they were planning to buy or sell. To cut it short, they were discussing to economy. While the clan council discussed their clan's prodigies or their clan's current events. Naruto entered the room along with Haku and Zabuza as the trio made their way to the stands where those who were being interrogated, prosecuted or asked questions stood. The three took a seat as some of the civilian council members sent a small glare to the boy. I have called this meeting so that Naruto here may tell you of the mission that he, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha were on. The information he has to tell you is rather important and you all need to hear it, Sarutobi said as the council members grew all ears when Sasuke's name was voiced. Although Sakura Haruno up in the stands paid great interest when her daughter's name was mentioned. She sent a glare at the blonde boy. Naruto was about to begin his speech, but Sakura decided to shout her anger out a little. Out with a demon I haven't got all day, Sakura said as Naruto and Haku glared back at her. Zabuza gave her an indifferent look. You got a problem with demons, lady? Zabuza asked in a cold tone that made the entire civilian council shiver from fear. But only made the shinobi side give Zabuza an appraised look on the amount of kai he could give out. No, please continue, Sakura stuttered in fright as she sank into her council chair. Naruto gave a small smirk before starting his speech that would no doubt leave many members in the council today angry and saddened. During my crank mission, that turned out to be in a rank mission, our team were bonding and trying to focus on our teamwork. Two individuals are excluded from that group, one being Sasuke Uchiha, who just wanted to gain power, not the arts of teamwork, and Sakura Haruno, who was constantly hovering around Sasuke rather than training. Naruto explained, as the shinobi side of the council side that was so. Like in Uchiha, the fabled cursed Uchiha clan, while the civilian side of the council stared daggers at him and one decided to speak his mind. You little runt, maybe having you on the same mission as him got Sasuke uninterested. Who wouldn't be having a demon like yourself as a teammate must be very distracting, the civilian council member said with cheers of approval coming from the civilian side of the council. I hope someone's not breaking a certain law, one that's punishable by death, Naruto said as he smirked as the council member's face grew pale as he sweated bullets and sunk lower into his chair. As I was saying, Sasuke refused to work with others, in fact he used them as actual human shields, going so far as to using Kiba Inuzuka as a human shield to take all the hits from Senbon needles for him, Naruto explained as the shinobi side of the council gasped. They never knew he was that bad. Tsume Inuzuka was beyond fuming at this point. She announced that Sasuke be killed for treason. Ironically enough, she hadn't needed to campaign at all for that to happen. It was probably you in a henge to try and make Sasuke-sama look bad, another council member spoke as another wave of cheers were sounded throughout the council room. Well, anyway, Sasuke committed treason when he used Kiba as a human shield, therefore it says here in the rulebooks, Naruto said as he opened a rulebook to a specific page and handed it to the council member who had previously spoken. That if a leaf ninja is to use a friendly unit's body or body part to protect himself from harm in a rank or above mission, then it is classed as treason, and if it is in a rank or higher, then a teammate may kill the person committing the offense to assure the success rate of the mission, Naruto explained as the council member's eyes grew wide. You killed the last Uchiha, the civilian council shouted out at once. Naruto nodded his head as Tsume began looting around the room. It was a necessary evil. He was threatening the life of a comrade on a serious mission, so his life is forfeit royalty, and clans are not excluded from this law, Naruto explained, as the other clan heads nodded in agreement, but the council side were shaking with anger. I call forth the execution of Naruto, Uzumaki Saruka said as she gritted her teeth together. She knew her daughter was head over heels for the last Uchiha. The civilian council almost jumped out of their seats to go and execute the demon child where he stood. Oh, and by the way, Sakura Haruno committed suicide when she saw Sasuke dead. I think many could question her mentality at that moment, but regardless, if you haven't forgotten, there's still one more Uchiha left, Naruto said as he watched Saruka's eyes bug out when he mentioned Sakura's suicide. Saruka charged at Naruto with tears in her eyes. You will pay Kyubi no Yoko, Saruka shouted as she tried to stab Naruto with a single kunai she carried around with her. Sarutobi sighed as he gave the order for the Anbu officers to kill Saruka for speaking about the Kyubi in front of outsiders. The kunai thrown from a singular Anbu pierced through Saruka's throat, cutting her jugular. She fell limp to the floor with a thud as several quiet cheers were sounded from the shinobi side of the council. This of course didn't go unnoticed by Naruto. I'm guessing she was as annoying as her daughter, Naruto asked with a smirk as the other council members nodded sadly. But on the inside they were beyond surprised that Naruto had heard them. Be quiet, you peasant, show dare you talk to the honorable clan members in such a way, a civilian council member spoke up as Haku gave him a death glare. Peasant, not that I care about titles or rankings, but last I heard, my heritage is anything but peasant, my good sir, Naruto said amusedly, as the same civilian council member growled at the rude way of addressing him. And pray tell, what is your heritage? Cause last I knew you were the son of a dead and of a drunken retard, the council member taunted, as the other civilian council members smirked that they had gotten one over the blonde Jinchuriki. The shinobi side of the council growled a little as they released a bit of Kai on the civilian council, but the Kai seemed near next to nothing compared to Naruto's Kai that he was releasing. You dare make fun of my parent, Naruto growled as he sliced the man's throat, leaving him dying on the cod floor below. My parents were Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, and don't you forget it, Naruto said as the entire council's eyes popped out of their sockets. Naruto calmed down as his features softened. Sarutobi sighed as he saw the looks coming from the entire council, all looking for confirmation. It's true, I hid his true identity at birth, giving him the name of his mother, Kushina Uzumaki, Sarutobi explained, as there were cries of outrage coming from all over the council room. I demand that my daughter be betrothed to Naruto, Hiashi shouted out. HOKAGE-sama, I wish for my daughter to be married to Naruto, Namikaze Inoichi said, as the rest of the council argued over who and how many women Naruto would marry. Silent, Sarutobi shouted out as the council members quieted down, giving surprised looks to the young blonde. Naruto already has quite a few girls with him, two of those include Hinata Hyuga and Ino Yamanaka. If you wish for your daughter to be betrothed to him, also then please speak to me later, Sarutobi finished as Hiashi and Inoichi looked satisfied and smirked to each other. Now they were both technically Namikaze's stepfather. Naruto sighed as everyone in the room were giving him different looks. Tsume was grinning because she was planning a betrothal between Hana and Naruto, while Hiashi and Inoichi looked incredibly satisfied and happy, whilst the rest of the shinobi council members looked both surprised that Naruto was their friend's son, but happy because they had found out that Minato's son still lived. But the most satisfying for Naruto were the looks of guilt and shame from the civilian side. What's this? No demon child, no, kill it, it's going to take over our bodies. Wow, you guys really are shallow. What should the matter of rank or title matter? I was still a little boy that needed love and attention. It doesn't matter if I'm a Namikaze or not, no one should have been treated like me, Naruto spat out in disgust as the civilian council members folded in on themselves. Any matter? Next up is the Haku and Zabuza case, Sarutobi said as Naruto stood back in the stands, staying at the back as Haku comforted him. Zabuza stepped forward to announce both himself and his surrogate daughter. My name is Zabuza Mamachi. I am one of the disbanded legendary swordsmen of the mist, and of course, I am an ex-CHUNIN, along with my surrogate daughter. Haku, we have been working for mafia bosses so we could earn enough money to try to pull another coup on Kiri, but I finally decided to give up on all that. We both decided to settle down in Konoha. The things we have to offer is this: I am an ex-swords master, so I could teach younger generations on how to fight with a sword, and Haku has a bloodline limit that controls ice, which I hear Konoha likes a lot, Zabuza said as the Shinobi Council looked rather interested in this. Do you plan on betrothing Haku to anyone? Shukaku asked in a bored tone, as Zabuza seemed to look like he was thinking it through. Haku is her own person, she can marry whoever she wants, and it seems she has taken an interest in the young Namikaze, Zabuza explained as he pointed to the cuddling teens. The female audience couldn't help but awe with the sight. While the males smirked as they all thought perverted things about how the blonde would make this relationship with so many girls work. Well, I say we give a show of hands on who thinks the two missing nin should be in or out. Please put your hands up if you want them to become ninjas of Konoha, Sarutobi said as the entire room's hands went up. Well, it's unanimous, the two get to become Konoha nins, Sarutobi said as he signed the two documents, and after he signed them, he handed two Konoha headbands to Zabuza and Haku. The two put the headbands on, and the three exited the council hall. Now, because you have no place to go, I'd like it if the two of you would stay at our place, Naruto said as Haku blushed a little, while Zabuza grinned behind his mask. Well, Haku was going to be staying at our place anyway, but I would very much like it if you stayed, Zabuza. If you're like family to Haku, then you're like family to me, Naruto said as he smiled at the masked ex-Miss Nin. Zabuza smiled back at him. Thank you, I think I will. Gaki, Zabuza chuckled at the tick appearing above Naruto's right eye. Haku giggled at the pair as the three made it back to the mansion. Oh. Konoha mansion. Naruto had shown Zabuza his bed while he brought Haku up to the master bedroom. When Naruto entered the door, he smiled at the sight of 12 of his 13 loves sleeping all cuddled up together. Even Genzi was cuddled up to Hinata, who was looking a lot better. Naruto stripped down to everything but his boxers and gave Haku one of his shirts to sleep in. She smiled as she put it on over her almost body and went to bed with Naruto. Naruto sighed happily as Haku wrapped her arms around Naruto's waist as he did the same to her as they drifted off to sleep. All the girls sighed happily at the same time when Naruto fell asleep, as if they knew they were complete now. Naruto once again awoke to the sun invading his vision. He sighed as he turned away from the light so he could sleep a bit longer. His head landed on something soft and bouncy, so he decided to snuggle up to it. The owner of the object, or rather objects, giggled as Naruto snuggled up in between her two large S. Tsunade sighed as she caressed Naruto's hair as he slept on her S, completely oblivious to the current position he was in. After a while of Naruto slowly drifting off to sleep, he got a rather distinct whiff of a rather familiar scent. Naruto Ramen's ready, came the call of one Hyuga Hinata from the bottom of the stairs. Naruto woke up groggily as he noticed the position he was in. He blushed and gave a nervous laugh which earned him a smirk from Tsunade. The two walked down the stairs in tow with each other, as all Naruto wore was a black muscle shirt and black male sweatpants. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, he smiled at the sight of all his mates eating their morning breakfast, which consisted of eggs, bacon, toast, cereal, ramen, much to Naruto's delight. Naruto suddenly remembered last night and rushed over to Hinata. Hinata-chan, are you feeling better? What happened? Naruto asked as he panicked around Hinata, who blushed a little at the attention. I'm not sure, I was okay 1 minute, but the next I felt really awful, and then when I woke up this morning I feel like nothing happened, Hinata explained as she pondered. Naruto gave a look to show he was thinking too. That's strange, but I'm just glad you better. You scarred me there for a minute, Naruto said as he wrapped Hinata in a hug, who gladly hugged back. Naruto sat down with Hinata on his lap as the group ate their morning breakfast. Naruto was looking out into the distance. He was extremely excited. Today would be the day he met his mother and the rest of his relatives. He couldn't help but think where they were now. Road to Konoha 3 hours away. The group of ninja were walking down a dusty road now. In this case, group could be placed in the clan category because there was 100 odd people walked in rows of 5. Higher-ranking ninjas on the outskirts of the group, while non-ninjas and lower-ranking ninjas stayed in the center of the group. The majority of the group had red hair, including the 14-year-old girl that seemed to be leading the group with much vigor. Mokusama, this better be something important. You're a clan head now, ever since your mother has been deemed unfit for service, so we of the council expect you to do your job properly and not send us on wild goose chases. This is the entire Uzumaki clan we're bringing to Konoha, and you know how your mother feels about being in this village. I hope what you have to show us here is worth it. An elderly council member said as a few other council members behind her nodded in agreement. I assure you, grandmother Chio, what I have to show you in Konoha is well worth the trip, and it is required that our entire clan comes to the meeting, Moku said with a knowing smirk as she tried to get the clan to move faster. Of course, even though the clan acknowledged her as a clan head, they still denied themselves to be bossed around by a hyperactive red-headed 14-year-old. But better, the council's grown old, we aren't as fit or flexible as we used to be, another elder council member sighed as the elders gave a quiet humming in agreement. Moku sighed as she was dying to tell everyone about Naruto and about how he survived and how he lived, but she wouldn't spoil the surprise, no matter how much of a gossip she was. Oh, can it, granddad, if you would eat your vegetables, then you'd be a lot more limber than you are now, Moku sighed in exasperation as she began to grow irritated with the elders' complaints. And I said if you try to make me eat those damn vegetables, I'd spit them back in your face, the grandfather to Moku said as he waved his cane in the air to get the meaning across. Oh, be nice, Kurio, nice, and Chio, scolded the elderly man now known as Kurio as he sighed in defeat. Damn, woman's got me on a 1-inch leash, Kurio thought with an irritated sigh as a tick appeared above Chio's forehead. What was that, you bony sack of crap, Chio shouted as she started to chase after Kurio, who was laughing like a maniac. Regardless of the speed, it was still chasing, although it looked like fast limping. I remember when I first met those two 28 years ago. It was when Kushina invited me and Minato over to her clan house in Konoha. Kurio is so much like the Gaki, while Chio resembles a much nicer and less aggressive Sakura. Jiraiya sighed as he thought back to the evil pink wench. She hit him for no reason. She was truly evil at heart, or she didn't care. Either way, she was a despicable person, Jiraiya thought with a sad sigh at how his godson had been treated. Moku looked up at him as she giggled a bit. Tell me more about him, she said with a giggle. Jiraiya smiled at her before he got back to business. Well, it's only fair you get to know him yourself after all. It would defeat the purpose of bonding with him if you already knew all about him, Jiraiya said as Moku sighed in defeat. They were out of hearing range, so the rest of the group couldn't hear the two. Hey, Jiraiya-sama, why didn't you take care of Naruto? Moku asked as Jiraiya sighed as he repressed a lot of kai that wanted to come out. Back when the Kyubi attacked, I was away researching a small yet grown group that is known today as Akatsuki. When I had done enough research on them to report back, I found that the city was in ruins. I ran to the HOKAGE tower to find my old teammate there, Jiraiya spat as he gritted his teeth. Moku was shocked to see the old seriously angry instead of playing around. He told me that Minato had died sealing Kyubi into Naruto, and that Naruto had died from the overload of Yoki entering his body. I believed him back then, because he hadn't betrayed the village yet, Jiraiya explained as he growled a little. But when he deflected, were you not suspicious of all that he had told you around the time he left? Moku asked as Jiraiya shook his head sadly. I only learned of his deflect a year ago because I shut myself off from the Konoha village. I only learned of Orochimaru's deflect when I met one of his suburbanites, and the reason I hadn't taken him in already is because he seems all grown up. He's matured beyond the need of artificial parents like myself. Only the real deal would do to heal his mental wounds, Jiraiya explained as he remembered his speech with Sarutobi. Flashback. Jiraiya stood in the Hokage's office, both palms flat on his desk as he stared his teacher down. Why won't you allow me to take Naruto into my care? Jiraiya asked angrily as he glared at the aged Hokage as the old man took a puff from his pipe. Because he already has family to live with. They may not be of blood, but they care for Naruto deeply, all of them, Sarutobi said with a smirk as he took another poof. He'd be happier living with them, trust me, he's more matured than you know, Sarutobi continued as he took yet another drag of his pipe. Is he living with? Jiraiya asked, a bit shocked that Naruto, the supposedly abused daily ninja, actually had someone or quite a few people to care for him. Sarutobi sighed a deep sigh as he knew Jiraiya would break the sound barrier with a screech of delight at having the knowledge that his surrogate grandson was with multiple women. Here we go, the Hokage thought before putting his pipe down and putting his fingers near his ears to protect them from popping. Naruto falls under the cry and is with multiple women who are living, and I presume sleeping with him, Sarutobi said as he finished his sentence quick as he noticed the perverted gleam in Jiraiya's eyes. The aged man put his fingers in his ears just in time to escape Jiraiya's almost godlike loud voice. My grandson's a player god, yes, he takes after me and your face, Minato, Jiraiya shouted as tears streamed freely from his eyes in joy as Sarutobi slapped his forehead with the palm of his hand in exasperation. Oh. Then flashback. Jiraiya sighed happily as he whipped a tear away from his eye. Moku gave him a weird look as she suspected he was having a perverted fantasy. You better not be thinking anything perverted, and if it was then it especially better not have been about any of my female cousins, Moku scolded as she glared at him and began to approach him looking rather dangerous. Jiraiya paled as he waved his arms in the air dismissively, yet in a panicking manner. No to swear I swear in my book series Jiraiya pleaded as Moku instantly calmed down. If Jiraiya swore on something so meaningful to him, then she couldn't doubt that what he told her was the truth. Jiraiya sighed in relief as he noticed that said female cousins were about to pummel him into the ground until they heard his declaration of course. I hope Igaki can handle all of his relatives, they're all crazy in their own way, Jiraiya sighed as he slumped a little, dragging himself towards Konoha, along with a long line of clan members, including one rather fearful Kushina right at the back. Oh. Road to Konoha back of the Uzumaki clan line. Kushina stood at the back of the line, along with her comforting twin sister, Kushana, who had both her son and daughter trying to calm Kushina down. Kushina had been adamant on not going, the place brought back too many bad memories. The council thought it would be best to leave her in Whirlpool so she could recover back to full health of mind, although Jiraiya and Moku insisted that she came with them and that she was urgently needed. Kushina tried to calm down her breathing and succeeded. She looked at Kushana with teary eyes. Why do I have to go too? Don't want to, it's too painful, Kushina cried as Kushana brought her into a hug. She only hoped that she would never have to go through what Kushina did. I'm sorry Kushina, but it has been ordered by Sarutobi himself that the entire Whirlpool clan has to attend an entire council meeting, Kushana explained as Kushina nodded her head sadly in acceptance. As soon as it's over I will never go there again, that I promise, Kushina thought as she whipped away her tears. Oh. Back with Naruto. Naruto suddenly stopped thinking about where his family was at the moment and began a brainstorm. Hey, the reason the message from my family never got through to Sarutobi in my past life was because the border patrol was still spying around our village. If that's correct, then they could have stolen the letter or something, I can't be sure, but that's a possibility, Naruto thought as he suddenly understood the situation. Wow, changing the genin teams has really ate up the past air prison, Naruto thought as he shook his head when he noticed Hinata looking at him. He looked back at her and smiled. What's up, love? Naruto asked as Hinata blushed cutely at the term Naruto used. Nothing, I was just looking at the cute look you give when you're in deep thought. Hinata answered truthfully as Naruto chuckled and stood up. Well, I think I'm going over to Jiji's office, anyone want to come? Naruto offered as the entire group nodded, snaking an arm around his waist. Tenten and Temari walked side by side with Naruto as the group of 14 headed for the HOKAGE's office. Naruto was about to head out of the gates but was stopped by a Shunshining Anbu member who looked at Naruto and then the rest of his mates. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Hokage-sama wishes you to teach this year's up and coming academy students. They'll be graduating next year and they need to be taught by an actual ninja who has seen action in the field. You are to cover for Iruka in room 101, the Anbu member said and then shunshined away. Naruto sighed a bit as he grew irritated. Great, now I have to babysit, Naruto thought with a playful pout which made the girls giggle. You girls want to come and help the teacher, Naruto said as he tried to be playfully perverted as the other girls blushed but smirked nonetheless. Hell yeah, they all said as they walked arm in arm to the academy. When the group arrived at the academy they noticed the childish bickering and chattering coming from inside the walls. Naruto sighed as he opened the door and walked towards his old classroom, followed by all of his mates. Naruto opened the door and was greeted by surprised stares from the classmates in the room, who were only 1 year younger than they were. Naruto and his mates walked down to the bottom of the class as Naruto sat himself down on a chair while Hinata sat on his lap and the other girl sat on a chair near him, making him look like a player. Alright, today class we're going to be talking about what it takes to be a ninja, Naruto started but was cut off by the obvious Sasuke of the class. You're not our teacher, Iruka's our teacher and you're only a year older than us and if you're here then that means you're still in the academy even though you're supposed to pass your genin exam when you're 12. You're nothing but a dead last who failed his exam. Sit down before Iruka comes into class or you'll get told off the academy, Sasuke, JR said as he smirked thinking he had just won the argument. Although the usual fangirls were glaring at their usual obsession while they were admiring Naruto. Maruka isn't coming in today, so I'm covering for him and I'm here because I'm a genin who has a good deal of experience out in the field and if you couldn't tell I was a genin, then all you have to do is look at the forehead protector on my forehead. It's a dead giveaway that I'm a ninja, Naruto said as he smirked at the fuming face of the Sasuke. Jr. Everyone gigglechickled as the supposedly top of their year couldn't even notice the forehead protector. Anyway, the life of a ninja isn't all just fun and games. You have to become above average to survive. You have to train day and night to become better than you were the day before. You have to swallow your blood, sweat and tears so that you don't seem weak to your opponent, Naruto explained as a few audible gulps were heard. Each mission could be your last, so if you're a ninja who just wants to mess about and taunt you enemy then don't become a ninja, because you will only put lives of true warriors in danger, Naruto said again, as a few of them looked like they were having second doubts. If you mess about on a mission you could die, it's a very high probability. For example, my last mission I went on, 2 of my teammates died, one because he used his teammate as a human shield and the other because she was stupid. I won't go into detail on her stupidity, Naruto said as the academy students gasped once again. To become a great ninja just follow these rules, Naruto said as he paused slightly for dramatic effect, which seemed to have worked quite a bit as several of the students whipped out a pen and paper from their backpacks. 1. You must follow the rules at all times, or you will have a greater chance of dying, although always keep this phrase in mind, those who abandon the rules are but those who abandon their teammates are worse than scum. That is the main thing you need to know too. Don't slack off, train yourself, at minimum, 5 hours a day 4 days a week. 3. Now this is for all of you fangirls out there, do not starve yourself, you'll only make yourself weak, and don't worry about putting weight on your ninjas, that extra fat will be turned into muscle tone, Naruto said as the group nodded. Naruto decided that some physical training was in order. Okay, I'd like it if you would all follow me and these beautiful ladies to the training grounds, I think some exercise and training is in order, Naruto said as his mates blushed and lead the group of possible Topgenin to the familiar training grounds for academy students. Okay, I'd like all of you to get into a straight line, Naruto said as the students did as they were told. Naruto put 2 kunai into the ground on either side of the line. If you know any type of jutsu that isn't taught in the academy, please go to the kunai on your right, if you do not then go to the kunai on your left, Naruto explained as the majority went to the kunai on their left, while a few others, which mainly included clan members, went to the kunai on their right. Now can those who are standing near the right kunai pair up and spar with each other, whilst we all watch, Naruto asked as they nodded, whilst the second Sasuke approached Naruto with a cocky smile. I'd like to pair up with you, loser, he said as his fangirls gave him another glare. Well, they couldn't be called his fangirls anymore, but they could still be classed as fangirls in general, because they had switched from the second Sasuke to Naruto. Naruto smirked at the challenge while the class eyed that was so like him challenge everyone that he deemed a possible threat just so he could eliminate them as possibilities. I accept, but I warn you, this is a battle you can't win. It doesn't matter how many jutsu you have in your arsenal. The major factor to a ninja's success in a mission is experience, something I have, but you require, Naruto explained as the arrogant academy student huffed and got into a stance. The others around cleared and led a circle as Naruto stood with his arms folded, not even in a stance. His mate standing behind him smirked at the fact that this arrogant Sasuke can't act alike was going to get his handed to him. Shibi, calm down and pick someone else to fight. This guy seems way too confident, which means he's probably not joking when he says he's going to win, Yuden said as he tried to explain to Shibi that challenging an experienced opponent was asking for trouble. The now identified Shibi snorted as he charged at Naruto. Shibi was about to land a hit, but Naruto sided to the left with much grace as Shibi's fist was still extended. Shibi tried to backhand Naruto, but yet again ended up hitting midair as Naruto got into a lazy crouching position as he mock yawned. Is he trying to fight me or is he taking up dance class? Naruto asked the giggling chuckling audience, much to the young brooder's aggravation. Shibi yelled out in fury as he brought both of his hands together and tried to pummel them both atop Naruto's head. But at the last second Naruto did graceful jump that looked much like a toad's or frog's jump and landed a few feet away as his effortless visage kept up, much to Shibi's further anger. Stay still so I can kill you, Shibi screamed out as his classmates gasped. They realized he was power hungry, but they never guessed he would actually get power mad. Naruto decided it was time to end this as the cocky academy student had gone a little too far. When Shibi was about to strike Naruto, Naruto used a special Anbu jutsu to put Shibi to sleep for a few hours. Shibi slumped into Naruto's arms as he shunshined back into the academy, laying him down on a desk. After he did that he shunshined back to the astonished group as they looked at him with wide eyes. Whoa, are you I were only a year older than us, yet you're about as good as my dad, one of the male academy students said as Naruto smiled at him. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and the reason why I'm so strong is because I trained immensely for years on end, Naruto explained as the entire group gasped at that. The son of the Yondaime HOKAGE, only the clan members in the academy recognized him for what he had done recently, the others just recognized him because of his name. Son of the 4th Hokage, Konohamaru asked, both shocked and surprised that his rival was born of royal blood. Naruto smiled back at the kid he would one day see as a younger brother. That's right, only recently found out, Naruto lied as he rubbed the back of his head as the classroom looked at him with stars in their eyes, which scared Naruto a bit. Naruto's mates giggled at the look of fright coming from Naruto. They knew he must be feeling slightly uncomfortable with all this attention. So you're the one Nichan is marrying, a younger version of Hinata shouted out as she pointed at Naruto in an accusing way. Naruto's sweat dropped a bit from this action, but lightly chuckled because it was amusing. Yes, Hanabi-chan, I'm marrying your sister, Naruto said as he smiled back at Hinata, who smiled back at him. Hanabi did a slight squeal because of the fact that he knew her name. How did you know my name? Did Ni-chan talk about me to you? Hanabi asked as she pestered Naruto. Much to Hinata's irritation, she understood that look a mile off: admiration, respect, interest, the three signs that she was foundering love for the blonde. Naruto-kun, school's out now, I think we should go and see Hokage-sama, Hinata said as she kept her eyes on her fuming sister. Naruto looked at the time and nodded. Alright class, you may leave to do as you please. For those of you who are serious about the ninja business, please train or study. If not, then enjoy freedom while you can, because the working world is relentless, Naruto said as he and his mates began to walk off. Hinata gave Hanabi a knowing glare, as if to say no way, while Hanabi returned to challenging her for the right of alpha female. And so it begins, dear sister, Hanabi thought with a smirk as she remembered all the things Hinata had told her about Naruto and how, secretly, Hanabi had spied on him a little too, just to see what was so good about him. Oh. Council Hall, main hall. The Uzumaki clans had arrived at Konoha, and Kushina was already distressed. It took most of her family to calm her down. Hiashi, Inoichi, Tsume, and Shukaku looked at Kushina and couldn't help but smile. Today, she would find out that Naruto had survived. They knew that the only thing that kept Kushina living was her daughter, Moku. The Uzumaki clan members sat on the rows of benches made for civilians, whilst the clan heads of each branch of the Uzumaki clan sat on the pedestals that allowed them to face the Konoha council members, who also sat atop of their pedestals. Sarutobi stood on the center pedestal on his side of the council, while Moku stood on the central pedestal on her side of the council. Sarutobi gave her a knowing look and smile as she returned it, as she waited in much anticipation to see her younger brother. I asked for this meeting to discuss a certain member of the Uzumaki clan that has come to my attention, Sarutobi began as Moku suppressed her grin and succeeded. The other members of the Uzumaki clan gave the council strange looks. Kushina, I'd like to talk to you about a certain council member that deflected from Konoha after you left a whirlpool, Sarutobi began as Kushina was all ears, although she didn't care all that much. Why should she? She didn't want anything to do with this village ever again. Orochimaru deflected from Konoha after the Kyubi attack, Sarutobi said as Kushina looked interested in that. Orochimaru always seemed like a trustworthy ninja to her. She was about to ask why, but Sarutobi lifted his hand to silence her. He had more to say. Orochimaru lied to me and told me that you and the Uzumaki clan died during the Kyubi attack. That's why I never came to visit or to check up on you, Sarutobi said as Kushina and several other Uzumaki council members gasped. But you sent us letters almost every month, Kushina shouted in disbelief as Sarutobi looked shocked. Kushina, I have never once written you a letter, Sarutobi explained as Kushina rummaged inside her pockets and pulled out a letter. She walked over to the pedestal and handed the letter to Sarutobi. The aged Hokage read the letter and was shaking with rage as he came to a realization. This is Orochimaru's handwriting, Sarutobi said as he glared at the letter. Kushina gasped in surprise, along with the rest of the room. Why would he do that? Kushina asked with tears in her eyes. Sarutobi shook his head sadly, along with the other Konoha council members. It's because he was trying to keep your son away from you, Kushina, Sarutobi said as a loud gasp was made by every Uzumaki member in the room. Kushina started to tear up as her tears flowed freely down her face, her skin paled as her eyes shook in disbelief. My son, Kushina said quietly as she fainted, but was caught by Moku, who was the only one who wasn't shocked out of their wits to move. Moku placed a pale Kushina in her seat next to Kushana, who snapped out of her shock and began to look her sister over, checking her to see if she was okay. Who is the Uzumaki child you speak of? Are you sure that he is the son of Minato-sama and Kushina-sama? Chiyo asked as Sarutobi nodded his head sadly. He is indeed the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Orochimaru lied to you all, so you would leave Konoha, leave Naruto alone to himself, Sarutobi said as the council's Kai emitted and the entire village felt the extreme concentrated Kai. What has his life been like? Sarutobi Kurio asked as the other members nodded vigorously. Sarutobi sighed a sad sigh and let a lone tear make its way down his cheek, to which the entire council room saw. It hasn't been good, it's been anything but good, Sarutobi said as the council gasped at the sad, defeated tone the Hokage spoke with. Along with a tear they knew Sarutobi enough to know that he hardly, if ever, showed emotion. What do you mean? Tell us, one of the Uzumaki clan branch family members shouted as Sarutobi sighed once more. As you can guess, the life of a Jinchuriki is anything but fun and games. It was hell every single day for Naruto. He was hated by the villagers for who and what he was, Sarutobi explained as the Uzumaki clan frowned. But why did the villagers hate him if he was Minato's son? Everyone knew Minato to be a pure soul, so why would the villagers hate him? Moku asked as she hadn't been briefed on every single detail. Sarutobi sighed again as tears flowed freely down his face. Because due to Minato's enemies and Naruto's lack of protection, I had to keep his heritage a secret, so the villagers believed Naruto to be the actual demon that is inside of him, so they beat and abused him daily, going so far as attempted assassinations and public chases, where he would be hunted down by hordes of villagers and then tortured, Sarutobi said as he sobbed a little. The council was silent for a minute before it all registered as the entire clan began crying. Sobbing into their relatives' shoulders. These sons of S will pay, Moku said as she whipped away her tears that continued to fall regardless. Sarutobi looked at her with teary eyes. I'd love to teach them a lesson, but Naruto won't allow me to, Sarutobi said as he remembered the time when Naruto had defended the villagers, even when they had tortured him only hours ago. So that's his name, Naruto Uzumaki. He seems to be a pure soul as Minato was, because if he still wants the villagers to live after what they did to him, then he must be a saint, a council elder spoke sadly as he tried to calm him and his clan down a little. It seemed to work, if only for a few seconds. Where is he now, Kushina asked with a bit of venom in her voice. Sarutobi sighed again. He had told the Anbu to tell Naruto to look after Iruka's class for a bit, just so he could explain everything to the Uzumaki clan council. In due time there are things we must discuss about Naruto and about a few other things, Sarutobi said sadly as he looked over to Kushina and her twin sister, Kushina. Kushina-chan, please tell Kushina all that I'm about to discuss with you, Sarutobi asked as Kushina nodded in understanding. The entire council paid attention to this, after all, the Konoha council had not been briefed on what Sarutobi was about to say yet either. You see, this may sound extremely far-fetched. I'd like you to listen and understand. Naruto will prove it to you in due time, Sarutobi said as the council nodded in anticipation as they eagerly hung on the old man's every word. Naruto died in the future, and so, Shinigami-sama brought him back in time to this current timeline, where the changing of teams seems to have brought on great significant changes, Sarutobi said as the room was silent for a few seconds until Hiashi spoke up. Impossible time travel is but a myth that has been over-exaggerated from a rumor. Hiashi tried to play the logic game, but in a world of ninjas, jutsus and all sorts of crazy manifestations, nothing should be far-fetched. Sarutobi looked at Hiashi and gave him an irritated look. Kushina was mulling it over. She was one of the few who knew of Sarutobi's ability to talk and interact with the death god known as Shinigami. Sarutobi, are you sure? I know of your bloodline to talk to Shinigami and all, but how do you know for certain? Kushina asked as most of the council room gasped. Sarutobi had a bloodline. This was new, but they decided to be briefed later. What was going on currently needed more attention. I'm positive he came into my office and asked for the deed to the Namikaze compound. Of course, I was speechless. I had never even hinted once that he was the son of Minato, Sarutobi said as the council were quite shocked to find out that these events might actually be true. But besides that, he has merged with the Kyubi's chakra, making him a half-demon, Sarutobi said as the entire council visibly stiffened. Sarutobi saw his mistake, so he quickly corrected himself. But it isn't anything to worry about. He has only merged with her power, thus making him stronger, not an actual demon, Sarutobi said as a sigh of relief was released from the entire room. Actually, Kyubi was released when they merged. Turns out she's not all that bad. We still don't know her reasons for attacking, but Shinigami-sama told me that she had good reasons, Sarutobi said as the council were very shocked that Kyubi had been released, but they all hung on to a smaller piece of information in said speech. Kyubi, the council shouted in a very surprised voice. Although, after all they had heard so far, you would have expected them to take it a little better, Sarutobi chuckled and nodded. I know, I was shocked when I heard it. She's with Naruto currently, Sarutobi said with a smirk. He couldn't wait to see the look on the council's faces when they found out that Naruto was with multiple women. Jiraiya saw that look and chuckled perversely as he wiggled his fingers, as if, imagining he was fondling some woman. Thankfully, his actions went unnoticed and at the moment, uncared for. But it doesn't stop there. Oh no, the things that have happened to Naruto lately are far from shortly explanatory, Sarutobi said with a slight chuckle. The council gave him a weird look as they wiped their eyes, but still clearly distraught that a family member had to live through all of this. Naruto is both the apprentice of Kami and Yami and the avatar of the Shinigami, making him a god among humans, literally, Sarutobi said as the group gasped with a greatly shocked visage. Now, some of these facts they could handle, but becoming a sort of secondary god was something they could not. What the hell, Moku shouted as she leaped from her pedestal towards Sarutobi's, intending on giving him a beating. Sure, she was shocked beyond belief currently, but the rage and anger she felt for what the old man had let happen to Naruto far subsided the shock. She landed on the pillar, destroying it in one blow. Luckily, the aged Hokage had jumped away at the last second. Sarutobi landed on the flat ground of the council room floor and started to shake his hands defensively. Wait, Naruto made the decision, not me. I had no say in any of the events that have unfolded, Sarutobi said as Moku visibly calmed her rage, but as soon as the rage subsided, she got a shocked and disbelieving look on her face and a faraway look to boot. She was obviously just coming to grips that her little brother had come back in time, become a half-demon. Become a student to all three of the most powerful beings in existence, and that he had agreed to all of it. Sarutobi watched as Moku fainted, he rushed over to her before she could hit the floor. It was then that the old man noticed the entire room had fainted. Sarutobi smiled at that piece of information. Ah, I didn't faint when I learned all of that, and it came from Naruto himself too. I must be the fabled god of shinobi, if I was the only one not to faint, Sarutobi thought as he fed his ego further. He then realized that he was in a room full of unconscious people, and that he had to carry them all. Alright Anbu, I need some help in here, no way am I hauling all these Uzumakis to the hospital. Sarutobi muttered the last part under his breath childishly, as a large group of Anbu guards entered the room and took all of the unconscious occupants to the hospital. Sarutobi smiled a little before he slowly but smoothly pulled an orange book from out of his pocket. The no stupid council, no Uzumakis, no limitation on time, and, oh crap, no sake. Oh. HOKAGE Tower, Sarutobi's office 1 hour later. Naruto and his mate stood in the aged Hokage's office, waiting for his return. Little did he know that Sarutobi wouldn't be returning today, and that many perverted giggles would be heard coming from the HOKAGE monument. Why is Jiji taking so long? Naruto asked in an irritated voice as he played with a kunai. Isaribi saw this as her chance at a little Naruto time, as the girls had dubbed it. She walked over, wrapping her arms around his waist as she stroked his stomach. Naruto let out an approving purr as Isaribi pulled Naruto as close to her as possible, allowing Naruto's purr to vibrate through her. Hinata got a devilish grin before she got up and sat on Naruto's lap. She began to lick his face as her own purr escaped her. Naruto purred harder and deeper as Hinata's velvety tongue traced around his whisker marks. Kyubi-chan, why does Naruto purr and why does Hinata lick Naruto like that? Haku asked as Kyubi chuckled at the sight she was witnessing. Naruto-sama, Hinata-chan and Ino-chan purr because we are all demons. Well, I am, Naruto, Hinata and Ino are all half demons, but demons of sorts, nonetheless they purr, because after the mating mark, their genes change a little, making them part fox, so they purr, because they have instinct to purr when pampered, Kyubi answered as she continued her speech. Hinata-chan licks Naruto because it is also in her instincts as a half-demon vixen. When she licks Naruto, it is a sign of great affection and comfort that vixens only use when their mate needs comforting, or because they are so much in love with their mate, they can't resist, Kyubi answered, as the girls giggled at the sight of Hinata roughly licking Naruto's face. It was then that Shion looked confused. Then why aren't you or Ino-chan licking him? Shion asked as everyone thought it over for a second and nodded in agreement. Did Kyubi and Ino not love Naruto like the rest of them? Surely did. Because there are two reasons. One, Hinata is our alpha, and she gets first dibs on everything. Second, if Hinata wasn't our alpha, I still wouldn't do it, because there would be no face for me to lick, as you can see, Kyubi said, pointing to where Hinata was ruthlessly licking Naruto to death, as they could hardly see Naruto's face anymore, as Hinata was licking it like she owned it. The girls giggled. And couldn't wait until they were made half demons. Before the girls could comment further, an Anbu member entered the room and coughed loudly as he got everyone's attentions. Hinata was fuming that she had to stop, but held her anger inside. Naruto had a red face as he was almost suffocated, although he wouldn't have minded. Akagama won't be in today. He has gone missing, probably on another of his porno reading sessions that he likes to indulge in so much, the obviously female Anbu member said as a tick appeared visibly behind her mask. Where will he be? Naruto asked as the Anbu member shrugged. If he'll be anywhere, he'll be at that festival. They all wear masks so no one would recognize the old, and so many males read the smut, it would be too hard to pick him out among the masked perverts. The Anbu member sighed again as she had to remember he was the Hokage and she was an Anbu Black Ops, but she still couldn't help but imagine Sarutobi getting his handed to him by herself and a few other of her female teammates. Thanks Anbu-chan, I'll go check the place out, hopefully I can spot him, Naruto said as the Anbu nodded as she shook out of her imagination and shined away. Naruto reluctantly stood up and led his mates to the festival. The girls followed as they couldn't wait until they stopped again so they could have some fun with Naruto. Oh. Konoha Festival. 10 minutes later. Naruto and his mates arrived at the Konoha Festival. It was a huge event that they celebrated each year. Just like the death of Kyubi Festival, everyone was wearing masks. Some were fake Anbu-style masks, while others were traditional Japanese masks. The festival was to celebrate the lives of the Anbus and other ninja who died in the Third Shinobi War. Thus, why they all wore Anbu masks as a sign of respect. Naruto and his mates all brought one for themselves as they were required to wear one to enter the festival. Naruto and his mates all wore the fox-style Anbu masks, which had understandably not been sold as of yet. Naruto and his mates were the first to buy them. Naruto found the good thing about wearing a physical mask. People didn't see him as the demon child, they saw him as the kid who wears the fox mask, which got a few understandable stares from people. Foxes were taboo in Konoha and have been represented as evil ever since the Kyubi attack. Now all we have to do is look for an elderly male who is reading an orange book that is entitled Icha Paradise. That won't be hard, will it? Naruto thought as he looked at the crowd of villagers, almost half of them reading Icha Paradise as they conversed. Naruto groaned out in despair and annoyance. Oh. Oh. Konoha Hospital 1 hour later. Sarutobi had given up in reading his perverted novel for today. After all, Naruto came first today. Sarutobi had gathered the entire Uzumaki clan outside of the hospital as they talked quietly, yet excitedly among each other. What do you think our cousin will be like? The first red-headed girl clad in orange asked her other cousins. I have no idea. Seeb, the second red-headed girl, also clad in orange, answered the first girl who was now known as Seeb. I hope I'm stronger than him. Hasha Databeo, blue-haired male, said in a familiar Naruto-like action as he was dressed in a red battle suit as he told the second red-headed girl, now identified as Hasha. Shudda Tekabaka. Both Seeb and Hasha scolded him for thinking about being alpha male at a time like this. Teki sighed as he walked away from the two red-headed cousins and walked up to a new group of cousins who were also talking about the new addition to the Uzumaki clans. Okay then, if I'm right and I probably am, my female Anbu secretary would have thought that I'd be reading my smut, so in which case, she'd think I was hiding somewhere, and the best place to hide today is at the festival where many people wear masks, which means Naruto probably went there to find me, that is if my Anbu secretary told him all that, which I presume she would have, being on good terms with Naruto. Sarutobi said as the Uzumaki clan nodded. Sarutobi led the brigade of squabbling Uzumakis to the festival. The group finally arrived at the festival, much to Sarutobi's relief, as he couldn't take much more of "are we there yet" from the male side of the family and giggling at their antics from the female side. Okay, this is the festival. I'd like us all to stay as a group because otherwise we won't notice each other as we will all be wearing masks. Sarutobi said as the others nodded, but it was then that Moku thought of how stupid this plan sounded. But if Naruto-kun is wearing a mask, then how will we tell it's him? Moku asks, as Sarutobi chuckled at the fact that Naruto would have many female followers with him and that most of their hairstyles would be recognizable. Don't worry Moku, I have a plan, don't you worry. Sarutobi said. The group brought their Anbu masks and entered the festival as a group, being sure to stick close to the pack so that they wouldn't get separated. Now all I have to do is find an aura of power and dominance and a bunch of pretty girl followers, Sarutobi thought with a smirk as he began to eye each of the masked people, looking for a powerful aura being emitted. Oh. Oh. Konoha Festival with Naruto. Naruto was walking around randomly. He had come across a few that he suspected to be the old man, but all of them were just old perverted men. Naruto was about to turn the corner when a weird-looking man with a curly mustache leaned down, face to face with him. You my boy, how would you like to take a chance in the ring with Oblivion? The weird man asked in a deep loud voice so that the apparent crowd could hear him too. Naruto looked up at the stands to see a huge muscular man showing off in front of the crowds. Naruto smirked back at the weird-looking man. And what do I get if I win? Naruto asked as the weird man grinned devilishly as he put both of his hands on Naruto's shoulders. Ah, that's the spirit, and to answer your question, the man took a dramatic pause. You will receive Oblivion's prized possession, also known as the Electrocutioner, the weird man said as the huge man brought out an electrically charged sword. Thinks Abusa's sword, except this has an electrical field glowing around it. Naruto smirked at that, the sword would look good on him. I accept. What are the rules? Naruto said as the weird man clapped his hands together in joy. Well, I haven't told you everything yet. To enter this you must pay 1000 ryo, and you must have had some shinobi action, the man said as Naruto nodded his head as he agreed to the man's requirements. He pulled out his forehead protector and showed it to the weird man. I'm a ninja of Konoha, currently Genin, although the Chunin exams are coming up and I have been on quite a few missions, Naruto said as he handed the old man a sack full of money. Here's your money. What are the rules? Naruto asked again as the weird man chuckled and slapped the blonde's back. Now you my boy are quite the find, the weird man said as he jumped back into the middle of the stage and beckoned for Naruto to follow him. Naruto was about to when Hinata tugged on his sleeve and brought him into a hug as she looked at him worriedly. Please don't do anything stupid, you don't know how strong he is, Hinata said as she removed her mask partially. Naruto did the same so that they could see each other's faces. Naruto smiled at her as he embraced her back. Don't worry Haim, I'll win this guy easily, and if I don't, then I can always resort to my bloodlines. No one can see my eyes, so it isn't a problem about being disqualified for cheating, Naruto said reassuringly as he gave her a reassuring squeeze. But I don't want there to be another incident like the last one you had in Wave, Hinata said as tears began to appear in her eyes. Naruto smashed his lips to hers as Naruto took all the fear and pain away. Eventually Naruto parted from the kiss and jumped up on stage as always were heard from the crowd. Naruto pulled his mask back up, followed by Hinata. Luckily, no one saw Naruto's or Hinata's faces, so their true identities were safe. These are the rules: no sharp weapons, no heavy weapons, no offensive jutsu, no genjutsu, you may only use tactical jutsus, you may also use lightweight blunt weapons or taijutsu, no bloodlines or eye jutsus may be used, the weird man said as Naruto nodded. No one would see him do it anyway, why make it a rule? The weird man jumped out of the stone ring and landed on a higher platform. The muscular man put the large weapon down and got into a taijutsu stance. Naruto got into one also, with much skill and ease of use. The weird man looked down at Naruto. "What's your name, boy?" the weird man asked Naruto with a mic in his hands, as Naruto smiled back up at him with a slight blush of embarrassment of standing in front of so many people. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto said as the audience gasped, "The demon child," but they saw him kiss that girl with much passion and love. Was this the demon child they knew? No, this was just some ordinary kid. They continued to watch, curious on what the outcome of the battle would be. Naruto was surprised when they didn't glare at him. Oh. The Noha festival with Sarutobi and the Uzumakis. Sarutobi and the rest of the group sat down on the earth as they decided they needed to eat and drink. Moku sighed disappointingly as Sarutobi hadn't found Naruto yet, but the Uzumaki who was the worst off was Kushina Uzumaki. They had to restrain her from running out of the hospital. The first chance she got her hands had been cuffed in chakra-enhanced devices. That had the chakra being emitted from the user if the user tried to do a jutsu. Kushina was in tears as her sister and daughter comforted her. She was so frustrated that she couldn't get up and find her son that she thought was dead. She cried into Kushina's shoulder as hard as she could. Moku was in tears just at the sight of her distraught mother. The atmosphere was very depressing for the Uzumakis and Sarutobi, that is until a voice calling out through a mic caught all of their attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have a new challenger for the Great Oblivion. Can the young ninja defeat our champion? Watch and find out," the loud voice said, as the groups couldn't help but feel they were meant to listen to the man, as if he were their information salvation. Young Naruto Uzumaki has challenged Oblivion to a fight. Will the young ninja prevail, or will he become Oblivion's next meal? The loud voice called out again, as there was a collective gasp made by the group. They instantly got up and ran over to where the voice was coming from, to see a young masked male ninja in a taijutsu stance, facing against a huge muscular fighter. "Begin," the man said as he commenced the battle to begin. Naruto brought himself out of his taijutsu stance and crossed his arms over his waist. This irked the muscular man. This kid was disrespecting him, saying that he wasn't even worth the effort to be given a stance fight. "What's wrong, Gaki? Getting cold feet?" Oblivion asked as Naruto smirked behind his mask, not replying to the comment and just standing there, staring at the man, irking him further. "What, you haven't got a tongue to speak with either?" Oblivion asked as he started to get angry with his opponent. Naruto smirked further and stood completely still, staring at the man even more as Oblivion finally lost it and charged at the blonde with much rage, not planning on giving the kid an easy time. Oblivion swung with his left fist, only to hit nothing. But what made the crowd gasp and Naruto's mates to smirk was the fact that Naruto was not stood on Oblivion's extended fist, crouching down, looking directly into Oblivion's eyes. Oblivion pulled back and swung his right fist towards where Naruto's shins were, only to find Naruto standing on that extended fist too. Oblivion roared and brought both fists back, intending on giving him two strikes that would be unavoidable. Bad idea. Naruto saw that both fists were reared back, so he shunshined behind him and used the backward momentum and the crevice Oblivion made in between his arms to launch Oblivion backward, landing head first on the ground. Kushina gasped with shaky eyes. That was Minato's prized Shunshin, a jutsu that only he knew. She was being restrained by a few Uzumaki members who weren't doing too much of a good job because they too were watching the growingly interesting fight. Naruto went through a couple dozen hand signs in a split second as he called out the name of the jutsu. "Hidden mist jutsu," Naruto called out as a thick mist covered the field, much to the crowd's curiosity and annoyance. There were sounds of fists hitting flesh and the cries and shouts of pain coming from within the mist. Eventually, the mist evaporated and the crowd's sights were directed to two figures in the mist. As the mist vanished completely, they saw Naruto standing in the middle of the ring in a bored position, while Oblivion laid on the floor, motionless. "He's unconscious. He will be for a few hours," Naruto explained as the weird man nodded dumbly at the loss of his strongest combatant. "Air Uzumaki Naruto winner, please come up front for your prize," the weird man said stiffly as he went to go pick up the prize. The man handed the sword over to Naruto with much difficulty. Naruto picked up the weapon with much ease and slung it over his shoulder, so the blade was resting on his shoulder blade. Naruto thanked the man and went back down to his loves. He sealed the large blade in his scroll before meeting his mates. Hinata hugged him tightly as she never wanted to be scared for him again. "You see, Hinata, nothing bad will happen to me again," Naruto said as Hinata nodded her head against his chest, much to his enjoyment. "Hey Naruto, come over here a minute," came the elderly voice that belonged to only one man Naruto knew of, his Jiji. "Old man, where have you been? We've been looking for you for hours. I swear if you were reading that smut again, instead of acting like Hokage Naruto, let the threat waver in the air just to scare Sarutobi." Sarutobi chuckled until some air caught in his throat. The air had come from a very fast source of energy. Before Sarutobi could turn around to see where the energy once was, he saw Naruto on the floor with a crying Kushina hugging him to her. Naruto's mates were confused until it hit them. The massive crowd of people waiting behind Sarutobi must be Naruto's family, and the woman cradling Naruto must be Naruto's mom. "Ugh, who are you?" Naruto asked as he had not noticed the crowd behind Sarutobi, nor had he figured out that the person cradling him was possibly his mom, the very same person he wanted to talk about with Sarutobi in the first place. Your mother," Kushina cried out as she continued to cradle the still masked blonde in her arms. Naruto gasped as all blood in his face retreated, leaving a socked white face. A lone tear left his eyes as he choked back. "Mom?" Naruto asked, to which he was hugged with tremendous strength, crushing the air out of his lungs. "Yes, I am your mom," Kushina said as she took her mask off and continued to cry. Naruto hugged back and cried a little, out of joy and relief, not of sadness. The sight brought a teary smile to the Uzumaki clan. Kushina would be a lot more sane from now on. Moku ran up to her brother and brought him into a hug too. "And I'm your big sister," Moku said happily as she glomped her little brother, tears of joy falling down her own face. Naruto looked at his sister and smiled back at her as more tears fell. Naruto's mates were hugging each other with the joy that their lover had family and that his family loved him and wanted to be with him. Of course, Naruto couldn't handle all of this as he looked up and noticed the huge crowd of who he guessed to be his cousins and relatives. He fainted as he slumped into Kushina's and Moku's arms. "Naruto-kun," they both shouted before Sarutobi stopped the two from going a little overboard or over dramatic. "Don't worry, I think it might have been a little over the top of us to just shove his family in his face like that. I mean, he only found out he had family yesterday. This is all too new to him," Sarutobi said sadly, as the group nodded in understanding. Sarutobi saw the visibly happy tearful girls who were Naruto's mates. He could tell they were crying tears of joy behind their masks. "Hinata, I think you should take Naruto and his mother back to your house along with any others who wish to stay there until Naruto wakes up," Sarutobi explained as Hinata nodded and walked up to Kushina and her daughter, Moku. "Could you two please follow us back to the house?" Hinata asked as Kushina nodded and picked Naruto up and the group set off. Kushina, Moku and quite a few of Naruto's cousins followed the group as they made their way to the mansion. "So what connection do you all have with Naruto?" Moku asked the group, who blushed and didn't really know how to say this without either getting called a tramp or getting Naruto beaten up for the perversion charge. Well, we're going to be Naruto-kun's wives," Hinata answered as she held her breath and thanked God she still wore a mask to hide her blush of embarrassment. Kushina, Moku and the rest of Naruto's cousins went wide-eyed at that and their jaws hit the floor. "You're what?" the group asked shouted as Hinata felt her heart fastening and her world grow a little darker. She felt like passing out but denied herself that action. We all love Naruto-kun, so we agreed to share," Hinata explained as Naruto's male cousins drooled as they drifted off into male fantasies. Moku saw this and popped the three male cousins on their heads. "Perverts," Moku yelled as all three cousins looked up and at Moku, all putting. Naruto's 6 female cousins glared at the three. The stare promised further action later on when they had their questions answered and worries erased. "You promise me that you all love him, because if you don't and if you hurt him I'll stop being sane and go back into the old, insane me," Kushina said darkly as the group nodded their heads. "We promise we love him with all our hearts," Ino said as the group nodded in agreement. "Did Sarutobi tell you about Naruto time traveling?" Kyubi asked as Kushina nodded her head. "We were the people who time traveled with him, all except Haku-chan and Genzi-chan. They joined us after Naruto came back," Kyubi said as the Uzumakis looked mildly shocked, although after today, nothing would shock them as much again in their lifetimes. "Not to be rude, but we really need to get Naruto-kun home before he catches a cold or something," Shion said as Kushina nodded her head as the group continued to walk. Kushina looked down at her son as she removed his mask. She gasped as more tears fell from her. Yes, he looked just like Minato, except he had whisker marks. She smiled as she continued to look at his peaceful, sleeping face. Moku and the others gathered round to get a good look at their cousin's brother's face. Moku also had tears in her eyes as she looked at her brother. "He looks so much like Dad," Moku said as she touched her brother's face just to make sure he was real. Hinata smiled back at them as they arrived at the mansion they all lived in. Kushina smiled at the size of it, as did Naruto's sister and cousins. It wasn't bigger than the Uzumaki household, but it was still big for 14 people to be living in. "This is a nice house, why aren't you all living in the Namikaze compound?" Kushina asked as Naruto sighed and shifted slightly in her arms, making her giggle at the fact that he was having a happy dream. HOKAGE will only allow Naruto the Namikaze compound when he turns Chunin, because when he turns Chunin, he will be more so of a threat to assassins. Sarutobi wants Naruto to be more renowned before he gives Naruto the Namikaze compound, because if he did, then assassins and bandits from all over would want him dead, Kurenai explained as she too giggled at Naruto's happy dreamlike state. I understand I wouldn't want my baby to be a worldwide target too soon, Kushina said as she carried Naruto inside and upstairs to the master bedroom. She placed Naruto on the bed as he rolled over, whimpering at the loss of body heat, only to sigh happily when Hinata latched onto him. I'm sorry, it's an instinct, Hinata said as she blushed, and everyone saw it this time because the group had removed their masks. Kushina smiled as she saw Naruto snuggle up to Hinata as Hinata stroked his face affectionately. Kyubi showed the others their rooms, while the rest of the girls got snuggled up to Naruto. When the Uzumakis had all been shown their rooms, Kyubi got into bed with Naruto as she snuggled up to Kurenai, who wrapped her arms around Kyubi's waist on instinct as Kyubi did the same back. Naruto let out a sigh of happiness as he felt a great sense of completion. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Don't forget to support author and his story, link in the description. Sayonara, see you in the next video.